Tierlist. Today I'm going to be joined by Adapting or Kenneth. He's my new teammate on the Atlantis Leviathans. He's going to be jungling for me this year. I'm very excited about that. He's also started up a new YouTube because his other one got shadow banned or something. So we'll put his link in the description. You guys go check that out. But yeah, we're just going to be talking about the characters in Season 10. It's basically a ranked tier list, a little bit of competitive from in-houses and stuff like that. But as always, take what we say with a little bit of grain of salt. This is more of just like a recommendation. If you're comfortable with a certain character that we put in B or anything like that, then have at it. But yeah, this is our outlook on the meta. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute in Discord. Hello, Kenneth?
Hello?
There he is. So yeah, I just basically told him that this is, ranked and that kind of take everything with a grain of salt. If you're comfortable with a character and you're performing well with it, then it doesn't have to be a C. But yeah, the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna alternate. So I'll start with Achilles, which is perfect for my role.
Yep.
So yeah, Achilles. I actually think Achilles pretty strong. A plus. Sundering Axe is really strong right now, and he's one of the best characters with it, just because of how many prots he can get, and he can overcap with his too. Doesn't really have any bad lanes. Only struggle he has is like clearing and everything like that. But most characters in solo struggle with that right now. So it's not really his downfall. But yeah, I think he's pretty strong.
I agree. I mean, I've been seeing him more and more in EU, and he seems really strong from what I can tell.
Yeah, the axe proccing for like 500. It was like 700 before, but they nerfed it a little bit. But
yeah, it's so annoying. It's like, I don't know what to do.
What do you think about Agni?
So for Agni, I think Agni's pretty good right now. I think he's probably one of the better mages just because he has CC and like decent poke. And now that people are kind of starting to build tablet, I don't know if they're building it on him, but at least I know in EU people are like just spamming proc items. And I feel like Agni's pretty good at
Say like A plus.
using that, so I would probably put him like A plus. Yeah, it's like one of the better mages.
Maybe if there's an S minus, he might be S minus or something. Yeah, he is crazy strong. He just like you said, all the proc items, everything just has so much damage. Even like some of the flat pen items are good on him with not flat pen, but like Spear of the Magus has % pen on it now, which is really nice for him. Yeah, he just has a lot of options, and mage builds are pretty strong.
Yeah, they're really good. 6-slotted.
I'd say Alposh is actually kind of underrated in my opinion, but I'd still say he's more of a counter pick. I don't think you ever really would just want to pick this character straight up. Good with proccing items as well, but I would say strictly use him as a counter pick against like a Hell or into these like healing comps that certain people may play, like Guan Yu, even though Guan Yu kind of does run him down. But I'd say strictly a counter pick, but maybe a little bit underrated in other scenarios.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same for me.
Okay. What about Ama?
I feel like this is probably like the worst stage he's been in right now, because I feel like she doesn't really seem to abuse any of the items that well. And she doesn't have the same benefits as before, where like the way you would play her was just, just grief the entire map, like you're just outfarming everything and just trying to hit 20 at like 18 minutes by just controlling backs and being like unchaseable.
Yeah.
And now she doesn't really have that capability anymore, so she doesn't get those leads, and I feel like she's not that great in lane. And once she rotates and she's not 5 levels ahead of everyone, she's just not as impactful.
Yeah, like you can't. The back camps are on such a long cooldown now, so you can't really grief the enemy jungler as hard. There's not much to invade. Pyros, it doesn't spawn. It's spawning a little bit earlier next patch, so that might help her. But like before, you could just like force a Pyro with Shoguns in her passive, and it was really strong. But yeah, I'd say she got a lot worse as well. And even Death's Embrace is like, it's still a strong starter upgrade, but like all the other ones are just so much better. Bluestone upgrade, Sigil upgrade, Sundering Axe, like those got a lot better, and she doesn't abuse really any of those. So yeah, I agree with you. I think she definitely is a lot worse now.
Yeah.
AMC is kind of weird. I think he's more of like a B plus, maybe A type character. He still has like mid pressure, I think. You don't really ever see him play duo, but that mid pressure is always important. Mid pressure is like one of the most important things in Smite. So I think he's always playable for that reason, but he's definitely been hurt by their nerfs and everything. I think you'll see him played in competitive just because people like to run like these shred comps where they just like all in a tank with like Kepri, AMC, stuff like that. But as far as rank goes, I would probably only ever play him in mid for pressure, and there's probably better characters to play like mages right now.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I've not seen him be like hugely successful. Like some games he like pops off plays. I don't know. I feel like right now he he's kind of like a situational pick where, you know, if he looks like you can get away with picking him without like getting like hard countered, then, you know, he can definitely abuse the bluestone at least. But
That's true. Bluestone is good on him. What do you think on her?
Anu is probably one of the worst ADCs right now. I feel like I never see him, and I feel like he doesn't really use any of the items well. He doesn't really do anything that well right now. I feel like he doesn't really win lane. Doesn't really
Yeah, maybe he's
like
a counter
I don't
pick.
know. He has like I'm sure he has like his places, but I think he's probably one of the bottom performing hunters.
Yeah, I think you probably just like maybe you pick him into like Cupid if people are playing Cupid or something, just as a counter pick. But yeah, I mean, you're not gonna like.
Yeah.
The thing is, you can pick him, and if you're comfortable on him, you'll probably just like be okay. But you're not really gonna carry the game or own harder than you would on like a lot of the other ADCs or just a magical ADC. So no real reason to pick him. I think maybe still a little bit power creeped. I think.
Yeah.
Anubis, I don't know. I feel like Anubis actually not too bad. He actually owns the Bastions early, but Bastions really aren't the end all be all. So maybe if they buff the Bastions in the future, he might be a little bit more viable. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's still kind of just in the same spot he's always been, especially in ranked. If you're you're getting camped, like you're just gonna get owned, and they go anti heal for your
Yeah.
lifesteal, you're just gonna be feeling bad.
Yeah, exactly. He can. I mean, either he's. I feel like an Anubis is either like 15-0 or 0-15, and
Yeah,
you know,
it's kind of
it's
feast
still
or
a good coin
famine.
flip. Yeah, definitely.
Ooh, Alkwang is perfect for you. What do you think? A plus, A?
Um, I think he's
For ranked, maybe it's
probably
S.
for ranked. He's like very, very good. He's probably, I don't know, A plus or S at least.
I'll put A plus.
Maybe A plus, just because he can. I don't know. The thing is, he's like permanently banned, so it's like so rare you get to play him. And
Mm-hmm.
if people have like some annoying drafts into you, he can be annoying to play. Um, but I mean, if you get on a roll with him in like a ranked game, he feels insane. Um,
What do you build on him right now?
I think you can build him like some different ways, because some people try like in-hand builds now that the Telkines is back.
Mm-hmm.
I go like I only go Telkines and then I go like power after power and like a little bit of like Magus as like my pen item.
Yeah.
Magus and Typhons usually I'll have. So like I still get like close to like 1k power late game.
It does seem
So
like most ranked games that he's in, he's getting kills every lane he goes to. They like buffed his
yeah,
2
he's
damage
so
a
good
while
at
ago, so
ganking.
like I don't
Yeah.
know.
With wing charge you get like Vitalis, and like the 40% attack speed buff means that you get all your like 8 dragons almost every time you gank someone.
True, yeah, that's a good
Which is
point.
like just massive damage, because like that's what you have to think about, like just getting your dragons off.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe he could be S, to be fair.
Yeah,
Like
he's
the only
banned so
reason
much, let's just put him S. Just
he's
because
just
he's like
so
permabanned.
like he's literally permabanned. Like I can never play him, so
Yeah.
that's why I moved him down, because it's like he gets moved down because you can't play the god.
Yeah, that's funny. um, so Afro moving on, I think Afro is still just like a counter pick character. You could pick her into like maybe like Poseidon mid and just like abuse your ult immuning things. But for the most part, still gonna get like hard countered by anti-heal, gets run down still early game. And I'd also say that she kind of doesn't like she doesn't really have anybody to attach to like be a nuisance now. Like before, I think support was like controlling the map pretty hard. I think they are less so now. So you're not really like linking to somebody that can kind of like own the early to mid game. So I think she's more of just like a counter pick. Wouldn't recommend her, especially if you're trying to carry a rank game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you have someone you do a queued with and you just kiss the fuck out of them, then sorry,
Yeah.
maybe I should swear.
No, no,
Okay.
you're good. You're good. Well, also she just can't like use the proc items as well. Like you have
Yeah,
one ability
no,
that doesn't do damage, like the 3 is not consistent, and your ult doesn't do any damage. So
no.
what
I
about
don't think she's
Apollo?
great. Apollo, I feel like is also sort of mediocre right now. At least I haven't really felt like he's been performing like that well. And I mean, It's probably always fine just because you do have a global and like you can have a lot of impact using your ult as well, whether you're like split pushing or just out rotating people really well with it. Um, but I feel like he's probably like mid tier for the hunters.
Yeah, just kind of like I feel like Mez is probably one of the worst CCs in the game, and his ult does get a ton of value in ranked where people aren't communicating and like actually defending split pushes and setting up for it. So definitely is strong in that regard. But yeah, physical hunters in general right now aren't strong. So maybe if they were stronger,
Yeah,
you could
exactly.
some of them would be higher. But yeah, um, Arachne. I mean, for ranked, there are some Arachne menaces in ranked. I think the character is pretty horrible. Like I feel like I don't know. I just feel like maybe because people are snowballing a little bit with her pressure early game and just like kill potential, and she goes into a lane with her wing shard or anything. It's okay. But I think this character needs like a rework. Honestly, I think there's so many cool things you could do with like a spider kit, and they just are kind of wasting it. But yeah, what do you think about Arachne? You're the jungler.
No, not played her that much. I mean, she is usually like fine in ranked because she can snowball kind of easily. Like if you just manage to get like picks or whatever. But I mean, it's not something I play regularly. I think she's like super boring to play. Like her kit is not enjoyable.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know.
agree.
She's just probably like one of the worst auto attacker, but you know, she still has games where she will pop off, I guess.
Yeah. What about Ares? I'd say
Um, maybe. I'm not sure. No one's really playing him that much. I think he can be really nice in some comps and like a lot of games he is pickable, but I feel like
he's kind of also
he's
like
not
feast or
like
famine, where
yeah.
he's good to a lot of like meta picks, I'd say. Like Fender is really good. He's decent in. Oh, he can be bad in Defender as well, just because he can get ulted back into their team and everything. But I think he's like pretty good for carrying games. There's a lot of aura items right now. I'd say that like he's more of a counter pick, but you could also pick him in like certain scenarios. And as long as you like don't die early game, you can like pretty much hard carry a game on Ares from support. Like if you're solo queuing support. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I actually think he's pretty good. Artemis, C. This character has been power creep. Like they just buffed her as well. They gave her another trap placement, and they also buffed her 3 damage. She just, she's just too easy to. I feel like every kit that they add nowadays, like especially if it's like a carry, they need to have like some sort of like escape or immunity or something like that. And she does have like CC immunal and a slow immunity on her too, but it's just not enough. I swear this character just gets run down way too easily.
Yeah, unless you have like a peel comp that like is built around trying to like make sure she gets a lot of value out of her ult and like stays alive for as long as possible. Kinda like Zeus. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, most of the times she's just not good and she's just gonna die.
And you're just
So,
a physical
and that's gonna
hunter,
be in your
so.
ranked games. Yeah, you're a physical hunter in ranked, then she's probably not gonna be good in most cases.
Mm-hmm. What about RDO?
Audio, I don't know, she seems alright from what I've seen, but I'm not sure how strong she is. Like, maybe she's more of like matchup dependent. I don't really know, to
I
be
think
honest.
she's probably one of the better Guardian solos. Probably not the greatest in support. Um,
Yeah.
Although you are pretty good at just like running, like holding W and stacking your prophetic and all that. So it's not too bad to put her there, but it's decent with Lotus Sickle unless they haven't fixed the bug where your one doesn't actually proc it, because that's how it worked before. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I think she's definitely probably the best or one of the best Guardian solos. Still uses Conduit really well. Still really good with Soul Gem. That's like the OP tech on her. And then of course the true damage Tablet of Destinies go like axe into that on her. Pretty strong, I'd say. So yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
she's probably like A, not like A plus or anything, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that seems fair.
Athena, I feel like Athena's always just fine. I'd probably put her B plus just because she does have the downfall where she pretty easy to kill once she goes in. She kind of has to dash, and Blink is maybe viable on her, but people were playing her in jungle towards the end of last year, and I think it made sense with the map. There's just so much to do on the map that you can kind of be everywhere all the time. But like now,
Mhm.
there's not a lot, so there's no real point, in my opinion, to have her in the early to mid game. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as a jungle right now, I don't think she makes sense. As a support, she's always gonna be decent, of course, just because like you just have a global ultimate, you can always help to counter gank or just help someone who's like getting engaged on, or you just ult over to your jungler when they're ganking.
Mm-hmm.
So like her ult just gets a lot of value, and obviously like the later the game goes, the more difficult she gets to play because you just die if you go for like a dash taunt late game. But
Mm-hmm.
she has a lot of setup, and she helps the team a lot.
What do you think about Atlas? I'd say he's A for Atlas.
Yeah, I think so too. He's been uh, he's been played a lot in EU, and like he's just I hate playing against him. I hate when he's just like running at me and like just tries to like grab me with the ball, or like his entire kit is just annoying to play against unless he's like fallen behind. But in an even game,
He's
he's
very good at griefing
pretty annoying.
junglers because if you just like go in, he just
Yeah,
drops his ult on you. You're just this prot shred, and it just does so much damage. And I feel like he's just good in like every scenario. Basically, that's why I put him A. You just can basically pick him in every single game and not really feel too sad. Apart from maybe like characters that can interrupt your dash or cripple you just because you don't have CC immunity. But apart from that, like has prot shred, has a lot of CC, can help his teammates with his slow immunity on his 3 and his peel. So I'd say he's like quintessential like support. Pick this god and feel pretty good.
yeah.
Um, I think it's my turn, but maybe you talk about Willox because I don't really know much about Willox.
I actually think Awilix feels great right now. I would put her A at least.
Okay.
Obviously, like she's also a god that gets better the later she's picked usually because you can, see how many leaps and stuff they have, so you get more value out of the ult. And maybe also you get some like if you have knockups on your team, it helps as well to
Mm-hmm.
like utilize the pull. But a lot of the time, you can also just use the ult for the steroid and just kind of go bananas because you get so much power and attack speed, and you get a lot of immunities.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like she rotates really fast because of her horse, and like with the well, it's not a horse, but
It's
uh,
a horse. You always call it a horse.
it's almost a horse to me. But she does rotate really fast. She has a lot of damage right now. Even in the late game, she does a lot of damage. And I feel like I like like all the items feel good on her, and she's like really good at snowballing. Like if you get ahead with her, you can just take over a game. And she also has like some comeback mechanics, just because like if you get like a good knock up onto someone, you can just change kind of like a big fight in your favor,
Yeah.
or you just get like an important pick. And so I think she's like very nice to play right now, but not the best of the best
Yeah.
kind of.
I think metas
She's still
where
like
she
top below.
can walk to like a lane and just kill people early game is really good for her, just so she can get because her early game her too hits like it's one of the hardest hitting abilities it feels like. So um
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with shards and everything, she can just has a lot of kill potential. So I think that helps her a lot. Like after 9.5, I think she got a lot worse because you just like really couldn't walk around and kill people. But especially now with like just how much kill potential there is, I think it helps a lot. So Baba Yaga that runs the EU streets. I actually think she's really good, especially
Does.
now that next patch they fixed her passive. She can actually stack tablet and prophetic, I think. So that's really strong for her. Not that you'd go prophetic on her in mid, but maybe in solo and some of the
Yeah,
builds I like to go.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But just both the books and just the proc items. Proc items are really strong on her. She has 4 damaging abilities, 5 even if you include both of her twos if you stack it up. So yeah, I think this character is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm never sad to have like a Baba when like she's not maybe the greatest like pressure in the early game, but like she does so much damage, and she has like a fairly safe kit because of her like alt knock up and shield, and she has a dash,
Yeah,
and
they
she has a lot of annoying like CCs and random abilities that
they
you don't
removed
always know like how to do.
Ansile as well, and Ansile owned her because it would literally interrupt her dash. Like right if you dash on
Oh
somebody that
yeah,
Ansile, they took that out of the game. So now she's OP.
she's
Uh,
so big.
what do you think of Bacchus?
Uh, Bacchus, has seemed, I don't know, I feel like maybe underrated. I don't feel like that many people play him.
I
And
think
I
he's
feel
probably
like,
like A.
yeah, I feel like he's fairly solid, but he's not played that much from what I've seen. At least not in EU, he's not picked that much.
I seen him
So I feel
in
like he
ranked a
can be really
bit.
annoying.
I think because they
And
added the mitigation items, like stacking it on him is pretty strong because he gets
hmm
some from his one, and
yeah, exactly.
they also added the heal on his one. So if you want, you could go breastplate or regrowth. But I've seen him a bit in NA. I've seen like
I
Ronnie
have seen
play him and
that.
stuff, and he does seem pretty strong. I feel like he's very he's very independent. You know, like he doesn't have to rely too much on his team, and he can kind of solo kill like carries and stuff, especially in the mid game. I
Yeah,
think he's pretty good.
yes. Yeah, he does. I mean, he has like a lot of damage. He has an escape and an engage and a, three forms of CC, so can't really go wrong with that.
And his ults after the CC changes, like maybe
He
half a
gets
year
so
ago.
drunk.
Yeah, it's like 8 seconds permanently. Like you can't DR. That's really strong in team fights, I'd say. Um,
Yeah, you almost have to beat it. At least like as like a jungler, if I get hit by it, I feel like I have to beat it, or I'm just like too groggy.
yeah. uh, I think it's me, but maybe I think Bak is pretty bad. I feel like when there's not a ton of farm on the map for him to just run around and gobble up, like it's pretty bad for him. But it is ranked, so you can kind of always just run around and maybe gank a lane, go and farm, maybe steal their farm. What do you think?
I think he's pretty good right now in ranked. I mean, not like amazing. I feel like he's like A in ranked still
Okay.
because you can just throughout the early game, like you can just go up and eat like a blue buff and stuff. And because of you have so much MS now, you're just so fast. So even if like people try to chase you, you can just run away.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
then, you can just kind of get away with a lot of dumb stuff on Baka just because he's so fast. And you just get like Golden Blade and you just clear camps really fast. I mean, he's definitely better in rank than he's gonna be in like competitive, for example. But
Hmm.
he's felt alright to me. I mean, I don't play him that much just because he's not like super fun to play, but he has felt strong in the games I have played him.
Okay.
Um, so yeah.
Interesting. Baron, I think more of like a counter pick. I'd say he's better than just like a straight up counter pick. I think you can pick him in more games than that, but I'd say probably just like B plus. Not really that viable in mid. But I'd say like in support, he's a good counter pick in Emoja, who's always a strong character. Um, in solo, I think he's a good counter pick into like if there's like Osiris metas. I actually think he's going to be really good into Surtur as well because Surtur doesn't have a dash or um, a leap or anything. So he basically always has to ult your ult, which is really good, and you can always guarantee your root. So once Surtur's in ranked, and I think Surtur's going to be very good in ranked, Baron might be a nice counter pick. But yeah, just kind of a strong character, good with some of the items like Lotus Sickle. What is it called? Breastplate of Regrowth, and some of the proc items. He has 4 damaging abilities, so that's good for. So yeah, maybe slightly underrated as well, even at B plus. But
Yeah. I basically say the same thing, so
okay,
not too much to add.
Bastet.
I think this is like a pick I've seen a lot in NA, and like I've tried playing her, and I don't really see why she's picked, other than like her ult can sometimes be kind of useful. But honestly, I mean, other than so like with Bluestone, she does like proc decent damage, but for the most part, I feel like she just doesn't feel as good to me as other junglers, and maybe that's just because I'm not really familiar with like how to play her right now. Or maybe I'm like playing her wrong, but I just feel like she doesn't do enough damage to warrant not having uh like easy confirmable like CC engages, or she doesn't have like super strong 1v1 or anything. Like
Yeah,
he's kind of mediocre to me.
yeah, I agree with you. I think especially if they kind of push Bluestone away from jungle more and more, that just hurts her a ton. I think because Bluestone is actually pretty decent on here. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's just a bunch of better characters to play, and yeah, that's basically all there is to it. Bologna, I think, is actually not too bad. I'd put her in A because she's just always a character you could play. Like for recommending people out there, you could pick Bologna basically every single game, and you're never gonna lose your team the game. That's how I see her. Um, because she's just so hard to kill early game. She has so much proc from her passive. She gets pressure in lane. She'll get totems for her team. And she can engage late game, so what more can you ask? But the thing is, I don't think she's really ever going to hard carry a game either. I feel like, especially now that people are even tankier late game with people having the Prophetic Cloak and Thebes, and then these heroism shields, it's just so hard to like chew through all that and kill people. So you're not really going to hard carry, but I also don't think you're ever going to lose your team the game, so I'd put her in A for that reason.
Yeah, I'd say the same.
She also gets hurt a little bit by like Death's Embrace kind of not being as strong as the other ones because you kind of want to go Death on her for the pressure. What about Bracken?
He's probably more of a kind of situational pick as well, right? Because
Yeah.
I feel like if you just pick him early into like nothing, then I feel like there's a high chance you're not gonna have that much as much value as you would on another god. But you know, if you're against like low mobility gods, like I don't know, people playing like Apoch, Zeus, Artemis, I don't know.
Pretty good
Just
against
like
like
anything
Cupid
like
meta
low
as well.
mobility. Yeah, Cupid. I mean, gods with dashes, she can catch a lot. Like Toth can get kind of screwed if you manage to wall him off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't think he's like great right now.
Yeah, I'd say he's like decent in support just as a counter pick into certain things,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's viable in solo or jungle. They nerfed his early game damage way too much. Like his tremors hit for nothing, so it's even hard to clear the wave now. So they kind of ruined his early game pressures. He's actually kind of funny, more like a mid to late game character now, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, moving on, Kama. As far as solo goes, I think he's just like always a fine character. I personally would just put him in B plus for that. Do you think he's any good in jungle?
Not really. I feel like he's kind of similar to Bastet. He doesn't really have like the worst part about Kama is he has no CC, right?
Yeah,
Like he's only raw damage, and I feel like his damage output is not high enough to warrant like not having any CC. But he's still very good at like diving, maybe like low mobility gods or like gods like maybe Oloron, because you can get so much value out of your ult.
yeah, true.
But other than that, I don't think he's great, and I haven't found like a lot of success with him uh, in my games. Like he just feels like like you just do damage and you can't do
Yeah.
anything else.
I think he's like good with Bluestone because he has 4 damaging abilities, but it's just I don't
Yeah,
know. He's another character that you could pick and like you probably won't ever lose your team the game in at least solo, just because you're really safe in lane. But there's probably just better characters to play with CC that can actually engage, especially with it being a little bit harder to kill people late. You don't want to just blink in and not be able to kill somebody as Kama. It's not a good feeling. So they also like nerfed his cooldown on his 3 and his ult a while ago, and you can still feel the effects of that. Just like so long to get both of those back. Cerberus, I'd say, is probably just around B plus as well. Maybe more of a counter pick even, but at the same time, he's just like good into healing. And I'd say the nerf that they gave to his 2 definitely hurt him a while ago. And I don't know. I don't really see a whole lot of reason to play him. Does benefit a little bit from Tablet of Destinies because he does have 4 damaging abilities, so he can proc that pretty often. Feels pretty good on him. And if there's ever a meta where people are playing like, Hell mid a lot, or, Guan is pretty strong right now, so you can kind of counterpick that with the Tainted Steel. But for the most part, I'd keep him more of as a counter pick, but I'd put him in B plus just because, you'll still get value in a lot of games because people like to go lifesteal on hunters, lifesteal junglers. There's just healing in the game like Soul Gem. You always get value out of him.
yeah. I don't have anything else to add either, so.
What about Kern?
He seems to be one of the like Fizz hunters that people still play. So I feel like he's definitely not as strong as he was, in
Yeah.
season 9. But
He was like S before. He's probably just like A now.
yeah, he's alright. He's still CERN, but he's not nowhere near as good as he was when he was just kind of like having so much pressure and just able to just rotate to FG at like 15 minutes and just do that.
They nerfed him, and just physical hunters are worse now, so kind of combination of both.
Yeah.
Dude, Chalk, every time I make a tier list, I'm always like Chalk is C, but I played him the other day with Sigil and Transcendence, and Oh boy, he felt crazy. I don't know. I feel like he's always just a character. There's like a few characters like this in solo. I'd say like Wukong is similar. Bologna's kind of similar, maybe a little bit better. Um, what's the other one? There's another character that I can't think of right now. They're just characters that you can pick, and you're not going to lose your team the game. Like they're really safe. They're kind of just stalemate a bunch of lanes, but you're also not going to carry the game. It's kind of you just saying like, I'm not really comfortable at the role. I'm just going to make sure I don't lose my team the game. And that's kind of how I feel about Chalk. Although I do think he has some carry potential just because the prots on his 2 he gets are really good for items like Glad Shield, Heartward Glyph, even like Sundering Axe if you go that route. And he has high base damage, so Sigil build is still pretty good on him. But I'd still put him in like B. I would put him in counterpick. He's not necessarily a counterpick, but I would say he's a counterpick in the sense that if you just need a stalemate a lane, just pick him and you'll be fine. But yeah.
Yeah, there was actually a period where he was like actually really strong in jungle, but I don't know about anymore. I don't think he's gonna
Yeah.
be picked in the jungle anymore. He
So,
might be fine in solo. I have no idea. He just seems like okay to me.
yeah, Sina was picking him a lot at the end of last year, and every time he picked him, I was so happy. I thought it was so useless, but
Yeah. Well, when he was playing it, I don't think it was good anymore.
yeah. What about Chang'e? What do you think?
He's I mean, she can be annoying. Like if you're good with Chang'e, like playing Blink Chang'e in mid, and just because you can just one shot backline or
Mm-hmm.
like a jungler, for example. Like if you do get your Blink ult off, you can really help your team. But yeah, it I feel like it kind of depends a lot on how good you are at playing her as well, and like being able to like find those opportunities. Otherwise, she's like if you play her with like an Aegis or something, I feel like she's probably one of the worst mages. But
Yeah, that's the problem with her is that she doesn't have like the range, so that's why you have to go Blink, and then you probably would just rather play a mage that has the range and can still go Aegis, but she definitely
yeah,
is good at like getting on the backline. And I think if you're like, there's a lot of Chang'e mains in rank that just kind of own with her. Like she does a lot of damage and will one shot people if she
yeah,
gets it off. So I'd probably put her around B plus. I think she's just fine.
yeah, I'd
Um,
say so too.
Charybdis, I actually think Charybdis is not bad. The physical hunter problem is like obviously here, so maybe probably like B
Like
plus.
she,
But
yeah,
she's really good at Kins is getting better next patch, so she's gonna get at procking that. Um, I just think she's like one of these hunters that you could pick in a lot of games, and she's another example of a character that won't lose lane just because she's really hard to gank, really survivable. But um, that ult is just atrocious. I don't know. Her ult is so bad.
yeah. Her ult is like impossible to use. I feel like you just
You know it
die
resets
when
as
you
well,
use
like
it.
Syl ult, which is crazy because it's like it
Yeah,
rarely ever
yeah.
happens. It's like I
No.
didn't even know that was a thing for a while, but yeah. I like playing her in
Yeah.
solo. She's fun with Deathwalker Bell where you go animosity and stuff.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. No, I think it's like you too. She's like a step below Zone, but she's probably all right for being
mhm.
a fish hunter.
What about Churn?
Like he was like super popular in the EU at least for a while, even though he doesn't have like the best pressure. Like it's just his ult is just insane for rotations and just the fact that like you can just turn a game with an ult, but no one's been playing him anymore. And I guess maybe it's because he's a fish hunter. But yeah, I never see anyone play him, and like I haven't played him myself, so I really don't know how to rate him right now.
Yeah, I think I'd put him. I would put him in B plus, but I think he's just a better Apollo, so that's why I'd put him in A. And I feel like
Yeah,
he
I agree.
like especially after next patch, like if physical hunters are a little bit better, he's just one of these characters you could probably pick in basically every single rank game, and you'll single handedly win some games with your ult just by making like a split push play or like rotating to a team fight that the other hunter can't be there at. So I think I'd probably put him at A. Whereas Kyron, I'd
Yeah,
probably put it like B plus, maybe even B, like just as like a counter pick. I'd say he's strictly viable in mid, sometimes in ADC depending on the meta. But they kind of just nerfed Bluestone. I wouldn't pick him in ADC because you kind of want your ADC to be able to do fire, and if they go Bluestone, it's a lot harder for them to do that. In mid, you can be picked into like a Daji or like an Aerie support, stuff like that, where you can get some value out of the cleanse Persephone mid. But for the most part, I'd say he's still more of a counter pick. Although he does abuse some of the like the Crusher, Heartseeker. He does abuse that kind of well. So maybe B plus. What do you think?
I'd say he's actually one of the better like Fizz hunters right now, just because he abuses the Crusher Hotrick, as you said, so well,
True.
and like he's really good at just ulting like a backline or whatever. Like you just need to tag them once, really, like in the late game. If you get like one tag with Crusher, Heartseeker, Bluestone proc, like you do so much damage.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why I think he's actually one of the better ones right now. But yeah, still probably not as good as like Mage Hunters, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And you can play him mid and ADC, so
Yeah. Hey, we're getting to some good characters now. What do you think? I think Cronus probably A plus.
yeah, A plus, because he's like I had a period where I felt like he was like super good in rank before, but I don't know. Like right now, he feels as a mage he doesn't do as well as them, because his over the wall poke isn't as good as like other mages. Like it's harder to get like a 3-1 combo as a Kronos than like a Merlin 2 over the
Yeah.
wall or something, like a Merlin 1-2 with like the arcane. But like he's really really strong as a hunter, and will basically get pressure, and has insane power for the late game, and does both like in-hand damage and ability damage. So he's really
Yeah.
strong, but
The poly procs are just insane on him. You just every structure you one
yeah,
shot, and he's just so good at like forcing multiple people to be like to go on him, just because if it's just one person and he hits you with his abilities, he will one shot you when you're going on him. So you have to be really careful. And by late game, if they go like bracer with him, he literally has like 2k power with like just like a normal build. It's like a red buff and 500 pot. It's crazy how much power he gets from his passive. So what do you think about Cleo? I'd say yes, probably, right?
she's well, she is really good right now with Bluestone, and like she does a lot of damage
I just think she
like
can
throughout the
be played
entire
in every
game.
role too. Like besides support, like every
Yeah,
other role she can play.
yeah, you can literally play her. Yeah, mid ADC solo jungle. She's this is probably like the best I feel like she's been in. Maybe I don't know how she was on like release, but like right now she's definitely very very strong.
She was pretty strong in release. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Her versatility is crazy, and you can just kind of ult every wave depending on if you're playing one of the lanes. Like I know Max said that she's probably one of the
Yeah,
best ADCs, which is crazy to think about as well. And late game, dude, just you're inside the wall and you're able to hit like your one and your ult on somebody, they're just dead. Which is, and they can't even
yeah,
like they have to Aegis it, they have to juke it, or they just like can't return any damage to you, which is crazy. So
yeah.
um,
If you get a combo of late game, you just insta win like a fight, and it's the same around like FG. You just alt FG and you just do a million DPS.
yeah. Cthulhu, I'd actually say is probably A. I thought at first he wasn't that great, and I've seen people complain about him, but Tableau of Destiny is actually not bad on him. It actually procs on his 3 and his knockup and his ult. And Glad Shield also procs on those, which is pretty strong. He can make use of Conduit, Tainted. Axe is still really good on him. Um, and he is a strong late game character. I think people maybe need to test out going like Blink Thorns on him and some other stuff, just because if it is like a late game meta where solo's only impact is to be in the late game fights, Cthulhu is definitely very strong at that. So yeah, I think always good with like the anti heal as well. If there's a healing meta, he's very good into that, going tainted and divine, and he's just good at killing people who have like soul gem or lifesteal ADCs. So I'd say he's actually probably one of the better Guardian solos.
Yeah,
And Cuckoo, I'll say something about him real quick. I think Cuckoo's maybe S. I'll throw A plus just because I don't think any solo really can beat S probably, but he is probably the best solo laner right now. He can use every single starter item. Has pressure, still good late, good at diving. One of the few characters that can actually threaten people with damage if he goes like the full tank sigil build or full tank whatever build. Um, you can't really go wrong picking him in my opinion.
yeah. I feel like he's insane right now as well. He's so strong. Like if you sigil or like whatever you really do. I've seen like a lot of different like builds on him, and you know he
They all
always
work.
feels like he's yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's I think that's kind of when you know like a character is good when you can do that.
Yeah. It's like, what do you think about Cupid? Probably B plus.
Yeah, I mean doesn't really do what he used to do well before, and yeah, he's not really picked that off because he doesn't like play well into like the mage hunters. I feel like,
Yeah, that's probably the big thing. He can't like counterpick
and
like a physical ADC because most of the magical ADCs are good into him.
yeah, exactly, and like that's I think that's kind of why you picked him before, right? Or, that's why I assume people wanted to play him because he's like good into like a lot of, and like also like his cripple field is just very good. But um, yeah, I'll probably put him B plus.
I've heard like rumblings of the meta that it's like kill support meta, and he's actually pretty decent at that. So maybe come competitive time, it could be something like that. But definitely for
Hmm.
now, especially for ranked, I'd probably just like a mediocre hunter that you could choose.
Yeah.
I don't know about Daji. She was dominating the meta for a while, but she got nerfed a ton. What do you think about Daji?
So I haven't played her a bunch. I played her a few games and she did feel pretty good to me in those. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like she's never really gonna be bad just because like you can get so much value out of her ult, and like she's like unless people are playing like Capri stuff or like they can like cleanse the ult or like a hell.
Yeah,
She's probably usually fine. She's
Absolution. That's good against her.
yeah.
The new item.
Um, but I don't know. She's probably B plus or A. So I'm not sure entirely where we'll put
I
her.
think about it. I actually have seen her still a bit. People are going Bluestone and just kind of that's obviously pretty good on her, and her ult always will get value. I'd still put her A probably. She also is really good into a lot of the meta characters that don't have CC immunity. So,
Yeah.
um, Donza, I actually think Donza is really strong. I would put him A. The thing is, still like the physical hunter thing, but like if they're better, I think he's probably one of the better physical hunters. I think he has really good kill potential in lane, strong pressure, good CC, crazy CC. It's actually pretty hard to like dive just because of his three. But I actually think he's really good.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, so I'll just agree with that.
There's some NA hunters, especially like Barra, who just like were picking him every game at the end of last year, and I just think
Yeah, I remember
he was
seeing
always
that. I remember
fine.
seeing that.
So
I mean, I was on board with that when I was
yeah.
seeing it. I felt like,
What about Disco?
yeah, yeah. This was like a walking passive to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, you just, someone gets the passive and they can maybe like bully the lane, but I feel like, I mean, maybe she's better now if I think about it. Like, if you have like all the proc items and like her one goes crazy, maybe like it does a lot of damage, but I don't know. I feel like for the most part, she's just doesn't do enough damage for how easy she is feels to like kill.
yeah.
Um,
I think
and like
her passive probably gets less value this meta as well, just because I think it's pretty hard. And maybe not just because there is the early game kill potential. So once like if somebody gets going with that passive, they can kind of actually own with it. So there is that, but yeah, I think she's probably fine at using like the proc items and everything. But there's probably just much better characters to play, and she's never really gonna hard carry a game.
yeah,
Speaking of bad characters, though, Erlang, see,
he's like never played ever anymore.
yeah, there's just no reason to, right? Because before you could go mannequins and still get some pressure to do scorpions, do like early pyros, do early like. There's just nothing on the map for you to actually pressure to do that with like. And his kill pressure early game is still decent, but if you're not gonna play him in jungle, that's like the only role for him I feel because solo there's just much better characters to play with, much more CC, and just like better at engaging and all that. You can go the Mitt build on him and be very tanky because he has damage reduction in his one and Mitt in his ult, but it's just more of a meme than anything. I don't think he's really that viable. I think he's probably C, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think he's good in jungle either right now. So
What about Iset?
ESET, honestly, not sure. Maybe situational pick, if anything.
Yeah,
I don't know. Or like, I feel like I have not seen her a lot, and when I've seen her, she hasn't felt like that strong.
I think she's
I
decent
thought maybe she
in
would be better with the new
support.
items, but maybe.
I think she's decent in support just because Lona's is strong. A lot of the items she's actually not bad with, even something like Absolution. You can kind of just like ult on your feet and get CC immunity, which is good. Um, but yeah, I'd say if you're ever gonna play her, just play her in support. And if you're gonna play her in support, probably do it as like a counter pick. She has like pretty good like interrupt potential with her 2 and her 3 on characters like an Atlas. You can interrupt pretty often. RDO for the same thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Fafnir. I feel like Fafnir's probably always just like fine. I don't know if he's like as strong where you just like throw him in A and pick him every game. Maybe. What do you think?
I think he's probably a.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he's always okay, and I mean, he's gonna be good for you, like whenever you like group with like your team, like you just pull an objective or whatever. He's like, I feel like that's such a strong thing about him that you just group and just blow up an objective. Like you can get away with like doing FGs quite easily because FG takes so long to kill now, but
Yeah, it's really tanky now. He definitely helps with that.
yeah. And then I mean, he's like impossible to kill. Like he
Yeah.
just runs around like trying to hammer you and like CC you, and he does have a lot of CC.
Also, your 2 probably procs prophetic, right? When you 2 somebody, like your teammate, and they hit somebody, it'll proc for you. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's yours, Fenrir. S.
Fenrir, I wouldn't put him as up, maybe A plus. I
Okay.
feel like I haven't been playing him a lot recently. I was like spamming him at the start, and then he was getting banned a lot, and then people started banning him less. He does feel pretty good to me right now because like you do have so much damage, and like he has like good early pressure, but I mean he can still be a bit tricky to play in the late game because it's not like you can play him kind of setup style. Like you kind of have to play just to get like a good jump on like a backliner or something and just
Just like all in them.
yeah, kind of like kill someone quickly and try and get out. Like you won't really get in there and like grab someone back with your all free
Yeah.
team. Like you'll insta die if you try that.
I've seen some
Um,
people go the MIP build on him, and I think it is actually pretty good. Um,
yeah, the mid game build is probably fine on him.
but yeah, that makes sense. I think he still has like the same counters he's always had, where just kind of interrupts
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
and late game it's still awkward. Like you kind of have to play it perfectly. I feel to
Yeah, he's
just like get all your damage off because he's not like a Cleo where you kind of just like throw out your abilities with Bluestone and you'll still one shot somebody. You kind of have to be mechanically pretty on point with him.
yeah,
No,
it's the fact that you have to commit your jump sometimes.
yeah,
And if you miss that, then yeah, you probably lost the fight.
for sure. I put Freya A plus. I wouldn't quite put her S. I think she's probably one of the best characters to play in ADC right now. But I just think the role itself, like you can kind of just get griefed. You can get level 2, level 3 ganked. It takes a little bit for you to like rotate over and have an impact. But once you do, Freya's probably one of the better characters you can play, I think.
Yeah, I would. She's definitely A plus or S to me. I mean, I would probably put her S personally, just because
Okay,
I think she's
let's do it.
so dumb. It's like she's so good in lane. Like even if you do like die early, like once she has Telkines and like hastened online, like you just can't fight her if you're like most gods. Like you have to be a magical ADC to fight back, and if
Yeah.
she gets on a roll, she's just so difficult to deal with, and she snowballs really well.
Yeah, I played her a
Um,
few times before it was like established that Mage ADC was the meta, and I was like, yeah, this character feels really, really good. They just like step up
yeah,
barely, and you get a hasten proc on them. Like they just can't do anything. They're just dead.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
and if you really need it, like early game, you can just go conduit to like fix like maybe you have a horrible like maybe you have like a Geb or something. You can, but people usually go gilded, which is also the basic attack damage is really strong on her. Um,
Yeah.
Ganesh, surprisingly, I think is actually pretty decent. I swear this character is not bad. I would honestly put him A. Um, just grief so many of the junglers with his
Yeah,
silence and the damage reduction and just like dropping his ult on people. But I feel like he just always like gets a little bit of value from just like dropping his ult in a team fight, either by like blocking people off, like slowing them, prot shred. Like I think he's actually not too bad, and I feel like you could probably pick him in most games. And he doesn't also get like there's certain supports where if you pick them, you can kind of just get hard owned. Like let's say you pick Ares, maybe they get an early kill on you, then they just are dive bombing you all game. Ganesh, like he's still pretty safe, and he can dash through like Yamoja walls, Ymir walls. Like I'd say he's actually pretty good.
yeah. I think he's really annoying to play against, so I agree.
I think Geb probably just counter pick, right?
Yeah, for sure. He can be extremely good in like counter pick games, like if you're against like Suket and like Daji and stuff, or like even like Fenrir makes it a lot more difficult to play those gods. I mean, obviously now I'm just saying junglers, but I feel like that's kind of what he.
You just hate playing against Gab. So do I, though. Gab and
Yeah,
Capri,
I
they're
feel like
so
he's
unfun.
because they're just anti-dive characters, right? Like they
Yeah,
just peel for the backline and like make it so difficult for you to play the game. Um, but yeah, I don't think he's like something you just like top pick and
yeah,
can expect to carry.
for sure. Gilga, I'd actually put in B plus for solo. He can actually clear the wave now with Bluestone. That was like his only issue. Well, not his only issue, but one of his big issues before. But like after being able to clear the wave and noticing like the HP 5 on his one, it's actually really strong. You're really like hard to kill because you just heal so much in lane. But yeah, I think he's actually viable in solo now with the Bluestone changes, but still not going to be like that crazy. With the existence build where you kind of just go like Bluestone, Contagion, Mystical, Pridwin, stuff like that, you actually do own late game, so you have that to look forward to as well. Do you think he's viable in jungle at all?
I think he's viable. Yeah, I've seen him like played a few games with like Bluestone and stuff, and I mean he's still just strong at fighting, but I feel like he falls off
Mm-hmm.
still.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just feel like right now assassins are like the strongest they've been in like a very long time.
So like, why pick
Especially like
him?
with their class buff. So yeah, I don't really see why you would play him because it's not like you can like utilize him having like a good early fight too much anyway.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna get like too many invades off or anything like that.
Yeah. He's actually probably worse at ganking lanes than other assassins anyway early game, surprisingly.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think
Um,
it's fine, but
Guan Yu, I'll take the realm real quick. He's definitely like A plus, perhaps even S. He's probably one of the best solo laners in the game, if not the best right now. He can use every single starter. His 3 does way too much damage, so you don't even have to like if you go Axe or Sigil, you still have really good clear because his 3 one shots the wave. Good prot shred, really good at just like playing both sides. He can dive or he can stick with his team and heal them. What do you think? I think he's probably one of the best.
I hate playing against him so much. He's really strong right now.
Hard to
Like he's
gank
one of
too.
the yeah, he's so difficult to gank because he can just ult out most of the time, and he's really easy to gank for because he ults in for you and just
Yeah,
slows them, and then has a stun, and then has prot shred. So like he's definitely one of the better solo laners in my
I'll put
opinion
him in
right now.
S.
So
I think
yeah,
he's one of the few characters from solo that will kind of carry a game, especially in ranked with the healing and everything. There's just so much you can do with that. So
yeah.
Hachi, B plus maybe.
Yeah, just B plus. I would say nothing,
Just so standard. I
nothing
feel like,
special. Yeah,
but I think he's decent in like Uller metas because he's really good into Uller. So like a counter matchup, but Uller's not necessarily the meta right now. So I'd just keep him B plus. Hades, I feel like
yeah.
went from really good to just kind of like whatever. I feel like you could still play him in solo, and it's like fine, but he doesn't like spam the mage items. Like he's not really great with like Tablet of Destinies. Because you kind of, at least in solo lane, you kind of want to be as strong as possible right when you blink ult. So like
Mm-hmm.
you're not like proccing it from a range. You're not really getting a ton of abilities on them in a team fight. So that kind of hurt him. And I just think if you can't go Bluestone, you can't build the Mitt build, and you're not abusing like some sort of like conduit slash Tablet of Destinies, then you're probably not that strong. But if you want to play him and you just want to go Tainted Steel into Book of Thoth and just go the full damage build, even with after all the nerfs, it's fine. Like you can still do it, but I would say that he's probably a lot worse than he was before.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, before he was super obnoxious to play against because he was just one-shotting everything, but I don't know right now. He doesn't seem that as powerful as before, at least.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know a lot about Hebo. What do you think? A plus,
Oh,
S?
he was definitely maybe even S, honestly. Like in jungle, he feels very, very nice. Even in counter pick matchups like Fenrir and stuff. Because right now I feel like is when a counter matchup matters the least because you're not really walking into like the enemy jungler and like kind of contesting them on backs or anything like that. Like you're just able to kind of look for like ganks and like play around them, and even if you like in a counter matchup, if you just end up like counter ganking, for example, then it doesn't really matter because you just get to get off your damage without like getting ran at.
Yeah.
He just does so much damage, forms a lot, and it's like he just feels really nice to me. And he's like banned most of the game, so I guess that's also like I think like uh, like I think to like consider it also just perma ban. I guess like everyone just thinks they're very strong.
Yeah. He it's mainly just jungle. If it was like mid, he'd probably just be like A
Yeah,
or A plus. But yeah, jungle, he can just you can kind of just like run around the map and get your own farm. It's pretty easy to do. And since there's not a ton to contest the early game, like you're not gonna have to like walk up and die because of it, you know. So
yeah, exactly. Like it's he just farms so well, and then you just get to level 20, and you just have 3 ultimates.
yeah. uh, Heim I'd say is actually pretty decent. Especially if it's a meta where you don't have to go crit. You know, Heim's not the greatest with crit, but I just think he's so safe. Mainly just an ADC. I don't really see you playing him in mid or anything like that. But also good against. He's a good counter pick into stuff like Morgan, Loki, just because of the invises. And Ao Kwang actually. He's actually really good in Ao Kwang. So since it's Ao Kwang meta, that definitely helps his case out. But yeah, I think he's just like a really good standard hunter that you could pick in most games. And once they fix the problem where physical hunters aren't amazing, like you probably see him in a lot more games.
Yeah.
Um, what about Hell? I feel like it's not a Hell
Yes.
meta.
I've seen her played some, and I mean, whenever I play against her, like she does do a lot of damage. I don't know. I feel like she's probably more situational. Maybe not like a flat out counter, but I mean, she can be annoying for as like a jungler in some scenarios. I don't know. I feel like she's alright, but yeah, definitely not a meta pick.
She's definitely good at the book builds and the tablet and everything, but yeah, she doesn't have like the range where I think you'd want like with this meta you want like a Tiamat, a Merlin, characters that can easily proc their tablet and just get it over walls. And her healing is always valuable in ranked, but there is a lot of anti-heal options right now. And they're even buffing brawlers next patch, so something to think about. Hera, I kind of feel like pretty much the exact same. Like pretty good at diving, and she does have a lot more range, but she's also pretty easy to dive, especially in the early to mid game. And if you can't really get out of that early game by just getting like grief by like a jungler, a lot of these junglers are pretty good into her as well. Um, there's always just better mages to play. I feel.
Yeah.
Then I'd say Herc is A plus.
Yeah, I think he's also one of the strongest solo laners. Like I feel like the ones that I've been like hating to play against the most is definitely Guan, Kullan, Herc, and there's one more, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, he seems really strong. Like with the regrowth. I mean, you can build him a lot of different ways, but I feel like most people just go regrowth on him, right? They just become
Yeah.
supersonic. I mean, 30% damage on like that heal is insane.
Every 10 seconds.
Um, yeah, like he just becomes an absolute speed core. So you can like just find a lot of like block opportunities, and if you have like a lot like with like the mid build or like have you can build him different ways. But he's really annoying to play against and does a lot of damage, has a lot of CC, and it's really hard to lock down.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, he has crazy base damage. Like his one hits for 380. Like his base damage is
Yeah.
absurd, and then his passive gives him a ton of power. I've seen people say like when he goes to mid build, oh, just ignore him, but he has so much CC, and his autos hit so hard that you really can't. Like even late game when you only have like Sigil and like Glad Shield maybe as your damage items, your autos are still hitting for like 150. Like you can threaten people, so you can't really just ignore him, especially if he's fucking throwing you around with his 2 and his 1. So yeah, he can basically go any build, I feel, and that's part of the reason he's so strong. That's what you'll notice. A lot of the characters up here just have a lot of versatility, or are just so good with the one build that, you know. I'd say Horse actually pretty good as well. I put him in A just because he also is a bit versatile. He can be played in support and solo. The items are good with him. Breastplate of Regrowth, Lotus Sickle is strong on him. Cat Shield got a lot worse, so that hurts him a little bit, but we don't really care. It's fine to just go like Axe into Golden Blade, and Sundering Axe late game is still really good on him. He has the range with his 1. But yeah, also just really good in support. Lots of kill potential early game, kill pressure, and yeah. What do you think? I'd say A.
I mean, I feel like he should be pretty good right now, especially with people wearing like a lot of like magical ADCs. I mean, at least in
Yeah,
support.
exactly.
I
That
mean, I
combo is
haven't seen
really
him too
good.
much. I mean, I'm surprised I've not seen him more, to be fair. Uh, but just because I haven't seen him too much, I can't comment too much on it. But I feel like he should be pretty decent.
Yeah, I see him played a bit in NA. Just like you said, everyone. Good point. Is combos with all the magical ADCs really well, just because of the kill pressure and just the split damage, which is really good.
Yeah.
Um, Huyi, I don't know, B plus.
He's B plus. He doesn't really. He's just a fish hunter, and he doesn't really like bully lane or anything. He doesn't have like a good matchup, I think, into most like of the mages right now. So
Yeah, he might be decent at like forcing Freya ult, right? And then if he gets like gone on, he can just go in the air and wait and kind of wait out Freya 2-1. So maybe a decent matchup there. I have to ask somebody, but
maybe, but I feel
just
like
not worth it
if
probably.
it's just like it's so easy for it to go wrong for him. Like
Yeah,
Freya gets like her Fatalis proc for example, she just runs him down and he ults. She just ults back, right, and just
yeah,
chases him down.
true. Uh, what do you think about Hunbats? You take the realm on that one. The helm.
Combats, I would say, is like probably almost plus. I find a lot of success with Combats in
I'll
my
put him A
games because I
plus.
feel like because he's insane once he's 6 slotted, and I feel like right now is like when you're the least punished for being like a low pressure jungler, and I would say he's one of the lower pressure junglers, but you just farm your own map, you don't really at threat of losing your back piece or anything, and like the only thing you need to try and control is just like the neutral farm, right? And he
Yeah,
does that well anyway, just because he one shots them. And I feel like once he gets to late game, he just explodes everything. And I feel like he has one of the best team fight ults in the game with Fear No Evil, doesn't get DR'd. And it's I just feel like he has so much damage, and like you can utilize his monkey toss mobility and everything. I feel like he's really good. I just don't like play him every game, but I would say
yeah.
he's probably A plus.
No, I
He's
agree
one
with
of the
you.
gods I play when I want to win a game.
Yeah, true. I played him yesterday or the day before in solo with the MIP build,
Oh
and I
yeah,
was like, oh no. I was just like trying to see like who I could build it on and see if they still would work. And I did it on him bats, and he has like all he has is his ult, right? And then his base damage
yeah.
isn't great, but I still was like owning them somehow. I was like just full tank and just like hitting them with my freaking baton or whatever he has, and just I don't know. It actually was
Yeah,
working out mainly because my glad shield actually was like hitting for a decent amount, but yeah.
yeah.
Um, so that just shows you how strong the mid build is, I guess. Ishtar
Mhm.
probably the best physical hunter. I'd put her A plus. Crazy pressure still. Has a lot of kill potential with her ult cripple, stun, and everything. Kind of just really versatile and will always just out clear people with her 1.
Yeah, I think she's also just the best fish hunter right now. I don't think there's
She can just
really
do
any
too
contestant
much.
better. Yeah, she's just she's still strong, so
Okay,
I
I
think
actually
she's big.
I've seen people play Izanami recently, and they're going Sigil on her, and it's actually kind of nice because she can just like full clear anyway, so you can kind of get away with it. I mean, the character still kind of suffers from the same thing, pretty easy to kill, very telegraph dash, kind of like Neath, but Like, does her pressure even do that much? Is the thing. I feel like probably not. Um, what do you think?
I don't know. Like I started seeing more sigil builds of her, and I mean it is annoying. So I mean I guess if you are like a fish hunter, she's probably like just maybe one of the better, just because she can abuse the sigil build easier. As you said,
Yeah.
like she still is able to clear and get away with it. But I mean I don't think you're gonna like I don't think she's like in the class of Ishtar and the mage hunters for sure not.
Yeah. Janice C.
Janus is like he's only good if you're very good at the god, and if you're not, he's probably one of the worst gods in the game. Even though he does have like a extremely useful like global ultimate, it's most of the time you will not think that god is that great.
Yeah, I swear, like he's such a cool character, and when he came out, he was like so good for so long, but or like after they changed his ult. Remember when he first came out, he couldn't move during his ult, but
Yeah,
um
yeah, yeah.
but he's just like he can't even like proc tablet. Like you literally have to like you have to two them, and then you have a three that doesn't do any damage, and you're never portaling them really that much. So it's really hard to stack that. So you're probably just not going to build that on him. He's not good at like the spam like reaver procs, anything like that. Like I yeah. I mean, like you said, I'll put him in C for comfortable. You only play him if you're like one of the best players on him. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly. He's just playing the game on hard mode, but I mean, a nice snipe late game. But I mean, that's any mage, right? Like
yeah,
Tiamat, you got a snipe late game, you just win the game, and you have 10,000 more possibilities to poke.
yeah. I'd say Jingwei's actually getting buffed next patch. I already think she's pretty like decent for what they are, like for the hunters. Like she's good with the any build you want to go. You can go rage on her, and her 2 crit chance helps a lot with that. She's still good with like a kin size build. She's hard to gank, and because the ADC role is sort of like kind of just chill and farm up and then like rotate over. She's pretty good at that. Actually decent into Freya, maybe one of the few hunters in the game that can maybe survive her just because she can dash away from her whoop. Um, but yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like she's fine right now. Like you don't need to. I mean, I feel like her lane pressure has always been underrated because it was never that bad. But
True.
no, I think she's fine. She thinks she's fine, and like her passive's always nice, and the fact that she also can like if you don't really have any other mage ADC to like contest the Freya, then she's probably one of the better picks you can play because you can just, as you say, escape to banish or dash to
Oh,
banish.
Yorm was the other example of like Chalk or Wukong where like I just personally think you just pick this character if you want to just insta win lane without having to think about it, but not really like hard carry a game ever. It's hard to like out clear, hard to out pressure. Really, he'll get totems, he'll do all that. I hate this character, man. I hate when characters are like brain dead, win lane, but like don't really do anything other than that. And like his outplay potential in team fights is like non-existent. You're either gonna get gone on by their 2 carries and get one shot, or like maybe get like a nice ult off while your jungler is diving. And that's the worst part is like you don't even soak damage for your jungler because you're just like in the air, not taking anything, not like blocking abilities, and he's just diving alone while you're just like hopping around. So, I mean, the thing is like
Yeah,
if I was speaking for other people, I see people pick Yorm all the time and do really well, and like maybe I would throw him in A for that reason. But I just hate him. What do you think? Maybe you're less biased.
yeah. No, I mean I don't like as you said like for that reason that like when I'm playing with a Jorm and unless we're playing like a like everyone has like good dive characters, like it just feels like I'm playing against the backline alone because I just have like a Jorm going into the sky and I'm just like on the ground alone
Yeah,
trying to dive the backline, and he's just like okay maybe distracting a little bit, but I mean I think he's fine just because as you say like he's can be decent in lane, and I guess he's probably one of the gods that are probably like finding to like tier maybe, but
yeah,
yeah, not a massive fan of him unless just like some people are just like good at him, but
yeah. It's also not that important to win lane right now in solo. Um,
yeah.
so what do you think of Kali?
I feel like Kali's actually feeling pretty bad to me the games I've played her, because I feel like I thought you would feel better because like it's kind of farm heavy right now. You just in terms of you don't really need to pressure anything. Like you can just clear your jungle and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But the games I play her, I feel like even with the winged short, like her gank early game feels kinda too weak because while she's strong at fighting, her gank isn't that good because you need to be able to stick to people or like burst them down, and she doesn't stick long enough. And I feel like every other jungler that I've been playing can kind of just stick to targets easier. And like I feel like right now, since it's such a gank heavy jungle meta, not being able to gank is a bad thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. She just
So I would say that's why.
probably just not gonna snowball like the other ones, so not worth it.
Yeah.
Khepri I'd say is pretty strong. Probably I'd say just because it's in competitive, this character will always be probably around A plus, even S at certain times. But in ranked, I would say probably just A. You could pick him in most games and keep your team alive and be annoying and kill frontliners. But he's sort of similar. Like that's why I'd put him in line with like a Fafnir or Ganesh, where you'll always get value, but you're not going to sit there and just hard carry the game. But you could probably pick him in most scenarios and be chilling. But yeah, pretty good with his prot shred and everything. So he's actually one of the few characters that can maybe deal with like annoying mid builds and stuff. Even though mid builds are still crazy. But yeah, I'd say he's probably just like around A.
Yeah. I mean I hate playing against this god just
Same.
because he just stays with the back line and just throws his two out and it's just disgusting. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
I used to last year. I just was banning him in ranked, and him and Geb I would just ban.
Yeah, I used to like if I ever ban support, it used to be those two.
Oh, remember when you're top elo, you just banned everything? That's what I would do. I would just ban. I'll just ban
It's so
Geb
easy.
Khepri in the second
Like
phase.
Google this. Now I have to type everyone. Now it's like I just type like ban all mage hunters and then
Yeah. I just ban Soul every game now.
Yes, I've
Um,
banned her every single game. I hate her so much.
I actually put Arthur in AA for Arthur. He's actually one of the better soul laners, but I think he's still a little bit weaker than these other guys. But really good with Bluestone build, and the items like Binding is really strong on him. Contagion, Spirit Robe, stacking a little bit of myth with him is strong. But yeah, I'd say he's like always just like a standard like fine pick. I would probably pick these characters over him, especially like most people. Maybe I would pick him a little bit higher just because I really like him. But just good gank potential, hard to gank himself, and I think he's pretty much good at all stages of the game. Maybe falls off a little bit late game, but as long as you have your charge ult and you aren't getting killed and losing all of your charge, like you're gonna be able to blink engage in a fight, and it will probably go well if you have follow up.
Yeah.
What about? I think Kulk is actually pretty decent. I think A.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's like one of the underrated gods as well. And I guess, I mean, you can probably like use the proc item somewhat on him, but I mean, I just feel like because of like with Pendulum and like Toth, like he gets so much power, and like if you do like the poly quickly, which is usually what I would play,
Mm-hmm.
like I just feel like you do so much damage.
Yeah.
I actually love playing. It's like one of my like mid picks that I play when
The off roll.
like one of my like one of my like hidden picks or whatever,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like secret pick. Oh, no, not secret, but you know, like personal picks.
It's like Persephone for me. I always play Persephone when
Yeah,
I'm mid lately. It's really fun.
she seems fun.
Yeah. Speaking of not fun, Kumba.
Oof.
Dude, they've buffed this character so much recently. I personally still think he's horrible. Like, I think he's. I mean, he's not useless. I'd put him in counter pick because he does get some value out of his cripple now on his 2 and like mezzing out people's abilities, certain channeled abilities, like maybe Guan Yu is diving your back line or, like Fenrir. He could be kind of annoying for that. I personally, I do have a bias though. I think that this character just deserved a rework for a while now. And like I said earlier with Apollo, mezzes are like one of the worst CCs in the game. I will say like for like the gold and platinum and bronze players out there, like you could probably pick him around A and you'll be fine in a lot of games. But yeah, I hate this character.
Yeah, I think for most players playing him, he's just not gonna be good. I feel like it's the like there are some people that I've seen that are like really good with him, but I mean, unless you're like one of those few, then yeah, you're probably better off playing a different card.
His 1 is
So
just probably one of the worst abilities in the game too.
It's way better now, right? That is the root, right?
No, no,
Now
no,
that
that's
it
his
has
two.
the.
His one is
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
the
okay.
minion toss where he belly bumps.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like such a bad support ability. It's just so bad, but
Yeah, I mean, it's just you can like run away with it, and that's it.
what about Kuzenbo? I'd say B plus. He's just a good grief character. You just run at people.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I mean, he's not like he used to be when Thorns was like mega OP, and you just like pop Thorns on him and just one shot like a backliner. He's fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
CC.
just
A
in
lot
support.
of displacement.
You can't clear the wave in solo, so I wouldn't play him there. But in support, I feel like if you don't really play support that often, or you just kind of don't want to lose your team the game, you could just pick Kuzenbo and just kind of run at people and grief them. Like he's really hard to kill, really hard to punish, and I'd rather have like a Kuzenbo on my team than like a Kumba, for example, just because I know that Kuzenbo isn't going to lose me the game.
Yeah.
Lancelot, what, like A plus maybe?
Um, he seems pretty solid still. I mean, he just does a lot of damage. Wins a lot of like 1v1s, and you know, he's kind of hard to not have an impact on, just because he will just get in there and like kind of dump his kit, and most of the time he will do something.
Yeah.
And he does rotate fast and stuff like that, so he's probably A or A plus.
But he also has like just a lot of gang potential early game with Bluestone because he has more abilities
Yeah,
than other characters. Just like procs it pretty
yes.
easily. Good auto cancels.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Loki. Yeah, I feel like Loki's probably not that bad, but I actually don't know. Where would you put him? I'm assuming somewhere between like B plus and A.
I have not played him that much recently, but I don't know. Like I was just playing him like for fun before. I don't know why I think that card is funny. I just do it for some reason. But I haven't really played him that much this season. I feel like he's probably B though. I feel like he's below those other gods. Like I would never put him in the same tier as the A tier ones. So
Right, that makes
yeah,
sense.
I'd probably just put him B plus.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, it's actually good with the proc items, Bluestone, Heartseek. I see people just like playing that
Mm-hmm.
and throwing out there too, and it's really annoying. But Maui, I'd say it's still probably like A plus. They did nerf his ult, and they nerfed something else. Maybe it was his two. Nerf to his ult is like 110-second cooldown now, but I mean it probably deserved that before. It's just like the easiest beads force ever. Can block off walls with it as well. It's just such a strong ability now that people have gotten really good with it. And still just such a safe character. One of the few guardians or supports that can actually like jump over walls and just be so safe with that. The 2 movement speed and teleport. Cripple on the one does a ton of damage after they buffed it a while ago. Like just still such a strong support. Probably the best, if not one of the best supports still.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think he's really, really strong, and he has a game-changing ultimate, which I think is like very important.
Yeah. Medusa probably just like B, right? Maybe
I'm
even like
thinking maybe
C.
A actually.
Oh,
No,
really?
so yeah, so in EU she's actually starting to get played more and more
In mid
because she
or
plays well.
duo?
So she played in a duo with Bluestone, and people just go the pen build on her, just because she like matches fairly well into some of the mage matchups.
Okay. Yeah,
Because
that
she
makes
can just like
sense.
one shot like I've seen her against like solo or whatever, and like she just can just one shot with her burst
Like
because she has
before
so much
3.
burst with like Bluestone. Yeah,
Okay.
and like if you sit like around the corner or whatever with her, like you just one shot anyone who like walks past, so like you can just get a lot of picks with her that way. Um, so she actually has been like decent in my games.
Okay.
So I would say she's probably at the very least B plus, but probably A to me.
All right. We'll throw her an A. I think I didn't really think about the fact that she probably does have a good matchup in the magical ADCs for sure. So
Yeah, I mean,
uh
if you build her like a traditional hunter, she's probably like one of the worst, but
yeah.
just because you can go like the Bluestone build, she's so much burst.
Mercury, you know about Mercury, right? Probably
This is like one of my biases. Like I did for this is for ranked, this is always an S pick for me. But
yeah.
that's maybe just for like everyone's gonna have gods that they're like kind of better at, and like for me, like Mercury has always been one of my better ranked picks. And this season, he still feels like he feels insane to me
I agree
because
with you.
he has like one of the best early games now with Winged Shard. Like you do so much damage and you have so much attack speed and you have basically Fatalis and like you have like a better speed buff now. His ganks are insane and like because uh like with FG being tanky as well, like even with the crit reduction, he still does so much damage for objectives like like any misstep you can just burst like Gold Fury, burst a Pyromancer, and then you can just like do FG and he has very good 1v1. He just does everything and he has two forms of CC, he has poke.
Yeah.
Because and he has so many ways back into the game and like extremely good at snowballing. So to me in ranked he's S, but it's also maybe my opinion.
No, I agree with you. I thought that he was one of the best junglers for sure. And if like even Fire just getting tankier even makes him better, just because like he's one of the few characters that can actually still like kind of burst it. I thought when they made the map a little bit more different with the side lanes, it'd be harder for him to gank, but it's still pretty easy for him to lane gank, and you can always do it from the jungle at certain spots.
Yeah.
And some of the items, even like I think maybe like Bloodforge has movement speed on it now on the base. They did that a little bit ago, and then maybe even the new Shadow Drinker and Rage got a lot better. He just I think he's just good with all that. And now even after the last patch where they made Bluestone not hit objectives, that makes him better as well, because like before some of the junglers could actually keep up a little bit with PvE just because they could kind of one shot an FG, like double Cleo ult it, or just drop your Bluestone on it. But now that doesn't work. Murky gets even stronger. So I think another S character is Merlin. I feel like you could pick Merlin mid every single game with the new builds with Tablet, with Soul Gem, Reaver procs, and I've been playing this character a ton in ranked when I play mid. It's like it's Merlin, Tiamat, Persephone, and there's like one other character, but basically those characters. And I feel like I can never have a bad game. Like they're just so strong. They're good at stacking it and proccing it, so it's just I think he's S.
Merlin feels like I've been playing him as well in my ranked games, and like he feels insane like once you get your items online. And he's so good at stacking like tablets because I mean you don't even need to one people, you can literally just two people and like they just take one tick of it and it's just a free stack and like you just constantly finding that poke and then late game, like one ability over like a wall or something, or just one ability can do so much damage.
Yeah.
You get like an arcane 2-1 on like a backline and they're just dead.
Yeah. What about Morgan the MILF?
She seems decent to me right now. I
Yeah.
definitely think probably at least she's I've been finding her like really annoying to play against. Like her knockup is really strong, and then like her ult and like all the life steal she gets. She feels
Yeah.
she seems decent to me, and she can proc. I mean, she can stack like tablet if you want as well. And she seems decent.
Yeah, she's pretty versatile. She has 4 damaging abilities for the proc items, and then like you said, she's good at griefing junglers, especially junglers that like have to all in and stay on top of them. She can just like Pele, for example. Like once you ult the Morgan as Pele, you kind of have to pre-beads or knock up, or you're not going to be able to kill her. And she's just good at that. And some people in ranked in NA at least have been going blink on her, and I actually kind of like it. Just kind of get in there, get all your abilities off, and go into your ult, and it can kind of just like change a team fight. So
I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, kind of similar to Chunga, but maybe a little bit better. Mulan, I think, is A. I don't think she's like a top solo laner. I don't think she really competes with these guys, but she's still really good because she can use basically every starter item. Her base damage is still crazy. Like once you get your 2 evolved, it's like don't walk over to her lane, especially if she has Soul Eater. She is just going to one shot like the jungler or the mage if they come over there. But yeah, I'd say still like a pretty viable pick. Doesn't really have any bad matchups just because her early sustain. As long as you play the lane correctly, got to be a little bit careful into like Herc and stuff because he can kind of just slam you with his autos. But yeah, I'd say still a really strong pick, just not quite at the A+ S tier.
Yeah, seems fine to me.
What do you think of Neath?
Neath, I've not really seen that much, and when I've seen her, she's not been that good. I actually thought she would maybe like be like a bit more annoying with like the Bluestone build and just crush a
Yeah.
Heartseeker, but for some reason I've not seen her play that much with it, and whenever I have seen her play, she's kind of just still neath, where like you just run at her and she just kind of dies.
Yeah, she's just so
Um,
easy to kill, and I feel like if you're gonna play, she's just like a strictly mid character for the most part. And if you're gonna play a mid hunter right now, when mages are so strong, I feel like you're kind of just wasting. Even if you have a magical ADC, like it's still good to play just like a mage mid. I think so.
yeah, I
It's
agree.
kind
I
of
just think
kind of not
mages are
worth.
just so strong right now.
And you don't like you already can kill people easy enough in the early games. You don't really need her ult, and you also don't really like benefit all that much from like say you're like ulting over to solo. There's really not a ton of kill potential if it's just a 1v1, and if you do, like, what are you gonna do? Like go do the XP or the CDR buff or something off of it? It's just I don't think it's really that beneficial. But
Yeah.
what about Nem? I have no idea about Nem.
Um, I don't even know either. I've played her a little bit. She feels fine, but she kind of has the same issue as Kama Sotum, like Bastettus, and to an extent, but like she doesn't have any hard CC. And sure, maybe like she's like good at like playing like 1v1s and stuff, but if people just play around it, I feel like she's kind of not that strong. I mean, she's like a decent pick into AO, but not like a hard counter by any means. I don't know. I think she's probably a B plus.
She also doesn't abuse that. Like you can go the Crusher, Heartseeker type build on her, but I've never really thought that that was that good. Apart from like maybe like season 3 or whatever it was when people were doing it. But I think she's a lot better in like auto attack metas, and even metas where she can go crit. I think crit is actually pretty sick, but just probably
Yeah,
not
I
that
agree.
viable. But Neja, I think, is really viable. I don't know what you think about him from a jungle perspective, but just from playing against him in jungle and people like watching, like I think he's probably A plus, one of the better characters, I think.
A probably A plus, yeah. I feel like you can build him so many different ways, and like it's just he has a lot of CC. He's also like if you have like regrowth build, and he's like super slippery. The ring toss is super annoying, and then obviously like you have like such easy setup. Like he's like very kind of foolproof to play in this terms of like if you hit your sash and someone has now beats, like it's just go time. You just take them to the sky, and he's like also very good at just forcing relics. Like you can just sash in, and people will just steal beads, even though you can reactively beats the alt now. Like I feel like most people just beats off a sash no matter what.
Yeah.
So you can just hold your onto your alt and either disengage with it or like alt them later. Um, but I definitely agree. Like, I'd say A plus.
I'm gonna put Nike in B plus, just because of Sunder. I think if Sunder wasn't in the game, she's arguably A, maybe even A plus. But Sunder just owns her ult so hard, which just nerfs her late game so much. Like she has no real bad lanes just because she can clear so easily. She can get away with basically every starter. But it's just about like what you're playing for, and I think you kind of are playing a little bit more for that mid to late game as a solo laner right now. So, probably unless like maybe you guys are in like gold games and nobody's buying Sunder against Nike, they just don't have the awareness. Maybe you can pick her in more games around A, but at least from my perspective, probably just not worth playing, even though she is decent at most points of the game, just because of Sunder. So,
Yeah.
what do you think of Nox?
Nox, I feel like is a support pick, or I
Yeah,
don't really
that's
see anyone
basically
playing
it.
her in mid, but I feel like this. Why would you play her in mid right now? Um, she can probably be good as a support pick though, and I don't know where to put her. I guess B plus maybe,
Yeah, probably just B
or a counter
plus.
picks
I
maybe,
think
but
she's a
that's not.
little bit stronger than counter because she can kind of just you could play her in a lot of different games and just like throw out your ult for the damage reduction and just grief people, the jungler especially with your 2 and your 1. Good with low nose
Yeah.
and decent with some of the items as far as like stacking prophetic cloak and all that. But I'd say just like B plus, just whatever standard. New I'd say is pretty bad. I wouldn't even put her in B plus. I swear I'd probably put her in. She's not even a counter pick. Maybe she's C. What do you think?
Um, no one's really playing her. I don't feel like she's that good right now. Like she sometimes has like, I mean, she will never be useless just because she has a global ultimate that does damage to 5 enemies. So that will always be useful. But I mean, her kit is just not that great, right? Like
Yeah,
you don't
Max
get
was
to
playing
use
her a
it
little
that
bit at
much.
the end of last year in some of our
Yeah, I mean,
comps.
yeah, I mean, I've had periods of that as well, where like Emily used to love playing that
Oh yeah.
duo lane, and we made it work. To be
With the
fair,
right
but I
comp,
mean,
it can work just with like dive and everything. But yeah, I would, especially for
yeah,
ranked, that is probably not worth playing. If there was like a B minus, that's
yeah,
probably where I put her. Wouldn't quite put her C,
yeah,
but
I would probably put a B minus too.
I think Odin's probably A. Um, actually,
Hmm.
one of the few warriors I think gets pretty good as the game goes on. Can just kind of do a whole lot with like full CDR. Can go a lot of different starter items. Good at proccing axe if you go that route. Also just like a really strong counter pick into certain characters, and like just look up here, like a lot of these characters can't get out of the cage without Shell. Like good into Hebo, good into Cleo, good into Merc, good into Guan, good into Achilles, like Hercules. So just really good in the meta where like a lot of these characters are very highly valued. So I'd say he's probably A.
Yeah, I would say so too. He's been, I've been seeing more play of him as well, and like, yeah, he's really annoying when you're one of those like S tier gods and you're kind
Yeah.
of just getting like countered a bit.
Yeah, he can actually clear the wave as well, which is nice, being a character that can
Yeah,
clear. All around, probably S, right?
probably S. Yeah, I'm not sure if
Maybe A
he's.
plus.
I feel like he might be the worst of the mage hunters, just
Yeah.
because like as his ultimate is crazy strong, but once he doesn't have his ultimate, or if he doesn't use it well enough, then I feel like he loses so much value, and he is still like somewhat killable. Whereas the other ones are like kind of like slippery, like Freya at least goes into like up into the sky and has like the banish, which is really good. And Soul just presses like 3 and becomes fast and has like agony flames after her.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. He's A plus or S. It's hard to say.
I think he's probably A plus. You're right. He's definitely the worst of the three, and you can just kind of counterpick like CC immune characters into him and deal with him. Whereas like Freya and Soul can just go immune for a little bit, and it's a lot harder. So they can kind
Yeah.
of get their damage off, where sometimes he can't, just because he's getting all in, even on top of
Hmm.
his ult. I'd actually throw Osiris B plus. Like I said, I don't think the pressure in the lane is all that important, and Osiris is kind of a pressure character. I think right now, if you go like the sigil build, like he can be extremely tanky and really annoying, like A plus type character. But I think realistically, you're not really, if you're gonna play for that mid to late game from solo, Osiris really isn't the character to do that on. Um, but you can pick him in a lot of games and you won't lose the game. Like you're not gonna lose your team the game just because he's so hard to lose lane on. But yeah, I think there's probably just better characters to play, more CC, more like impact late game.
Yeah.
What about Pele?
Pele. I feel like she's probably just A. I don't know. She doesn't seem like. I feel like she's very good when like she can snowball really hard and then like get ahead. But I don't know. Like I feel like most junglers right now have pretty good gank, and I feel like she's one of the junglers that actually fall off late game because I mean she has like an all-in kit, and if you ult and someone has like an Aegis or something, then usually you will just die.
Yeah,
Um, so I'd probably just put her A.
there's definitely some games where she'll just snowball, but that's basically a lot of junglers, and yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think you could probably pick her in most games and be fine, but um, probably a little bit less value than the other ones
yeah. I feel like she doesn't have like great matchups into like some of the A gods as well and the S gods, so that's why.
for sure. I throw Persephone B plus. Like I said earlier, I've been actually playing her quite a bit, but she just doesn't have the overwall damage. Her two is so inconsistent. Her one needs to go through the walls. Even her ult has gotten
Yeah,
a lot worse ever since they changed it. But sometimes, like when you two, the flowers won't even hit the minions, even though they walk right past them. In my opinion, they should just make her one go through walls and make her two always do damage in the AOE. She might be busted with that, but at least she'd be more fun to play. But yeah, I think just B plus, just way too inconsistent. She also isn't great at
yeah.
using the proc items because her flowers don't proc when they run forward. So
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
that's not
It's a
good.
big thing. Poss, probably B plus, right? I mean, at least I haven't seen him a lot, and I feel like whenever I play against him, he doesn't. He's kind of like a mage that can be good if he gets ahead, but I feel like he just doesn't really have like insane poke or anything. And like, sure, maybe like you can get like some value out of the Kraken, but just not as good as the other poke mages, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like all of these mages, I'm gonna just throw Ra and Raijin in here. I kind of feel like they're all kind of the similar, like maybe. What do you think about Ra? Maybe Ra's a little bit stronger, but
Bro can maybe be A. Okay, so I don't know if anyone's running this in NA, but there's like this build with Sickle, and maybe this is just a ranked build. I mean, yeah, but it is a ranked tier. It's more annoying, right? So, but there's like a build where you go Sickle and Regrowth,
oh yeah, I have
and
seen that.
you're
Yeah,
just you're like I was playing it today because I was just trying it for fun, and like it actually feels so fun. Like once you have it online, and you
yeah,
still do decent damage, and you know you have like your heal and stuff, and you have long range damage. Or maybe a like I would rather have a Raw on my team for sure than a Poss. So
yeah, yeah. I
also
agree
down
with
for that.
that. Kind of thinking the same thing. I have seen that build though. It does seem kind of fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, like all these mages are just kind of like, especially these three. Actually, Raijin's decent with the tablet buff and everything, but still kind of similar to how he was before. Just kind of interrupt a lot of his damage, and just seems like, especially what he used to be. Like he used to be in the meta for like 3 years straight. He just
Hmm.
seems like he does so much less damage than he used to. It's almost like
Yeah.
non-existent sometimes. But um, moving on to Rama, I actually think Rama is probably one of the best hunters, especially physical hunters in the game. I'd put him in A plus personally. If you're not gonna get like a magical hunter, or maybe I'd probably maybe even pick him over like Olerin because he still has the lane pressure, still like very versatile. He can dive with his ult. Good with every single build in the game for hunters. So I'd say he's probably one of the best hunters.
Yeah, I mean, I always enjoy playing with a Rama because not only does it help, like, if you're getting ganked as a Rama, you can buy so much time, so it like allows you as a jungler to kind of come counter gank, and also when you're like diving in the late game, like you have a hunter that will, like, if Rama goes into the sky, then he helps you dive and also you know can survive for so long if he's getting dove. So I think
Yeah.
he brings a lot of value.
I feel like Wrath's probably decent in solo just because of more of like a late game meta, and you can build a lot of different starters. But I feel like he's probably not great in jungle, right?
I haven't played him a lot. I've played him a few games, and he actually felt like pretty decent. So maybe an A, but I don't know. I'm fine with leaving it B plus for now until like getting more data on it, because no one's really playing it, and never all those other guys are gonna be in play. So yeah, maybe just keep it in B plus for now.
Okay.
But you know, I'd say it's like definitely not. I think it's just a bit underrated at least.
I swear there's characters, Rat's kind of like this, and maybe some other characters in B plus that are probably not that bad, but they're just not very fun to play. So like, it's hard to get
Yeah,
a ton of data on them because you're just like, yeah, I don't feel like playing that character. But
yeah.
what about Robin?
I actually think this card is kind of underrated. No one's really playing him. Every game I play him, I feel like I go like I have like really good games on him because
Mm-hmm.
he's so strong with like just like Crusher and Heartseeker. Like he does so much burst damage, and especially like if you get like a Chronos and stuff, like you can actually just kill them before they rewind, and if they like three, you two it. So it's actually like a really good matchup into that.
Run too, pretty
Let's
decent.
say maybe like a yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think
And
he's
like
also viable in
the,
solo with the myths and stuff.
yeah, and it's like good like Merlin and stuff can kind of just get ran at by him, and it's like can be hard for them to deal with it. So I'd say it's probably a, even though it does get picked a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd say it still is probably B plus, kind of similar to other mages where just not great at using the meta builds. For root, I think it's been gutted because of the DR changes. So sometimes they'll literally just walk out of your root but still be crippled. And yeah, her 3 and ult are just not great in a meta where you want to have like low cooldown like poke abilities and stuff. But yeah, I'd say probably just similar to these other characters. Probably a lot better mages to be picking.
Yeah, I feel like she belongs in the B plus, like looking at it.
Yeah. Sir Cat.
The cat seems decent now if you do like so like people in EU are running just like you just go the crit build, so you go like rage and like you have like blood forge and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she's obviously like she's got like one of the best ganks of all junglers basically in the game because she has like her 2 CC, she has a lot of burst, and like in the early game she's really difficult to deal with. She's just kind of like Paley, where like the later the game goes, like the more difficult she feels like kind of to play. Because like late game, she's like it's like impossible to use her ult in like a team fight because you're just rooting yourself, and
Yeah.
if you're just a full squishy, so get rooting yourself, you're just gonna die. Um, but I would probably put her A.
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
she's
I have
very
no
good at
idea about
getting
her.
getting leads. Yeah, she's just very good at like getting leads and like snowballing.
Said I think I put an S. He just runs
S for
any ranked.
sure.
Played in. He's kind of like
Yeah,
Cleo, where he can be played in like 4 roles. Just kind of runs around and gets kills. In ranked, especially, just ults. Like you can easily snowball a fight with your ult early, mid, even
yeah,
late. His 2-1 late game
yeah.
with the proc build just hits so hard as well. It's kind of
It's
crazy.
insane damage. It does insane damage. Like you
Yeah.
can like you hit for like 1200-1500 on like a squishy if you hit that late game with boost
Yeah.
on and stuff. Like it's insane. Yeah, I think he's definitely S as well. Like he's so good at kind of running a game, and like the fact is that like he still has a good late game. He's just more difficult to play in the late game in terms of like you can't kind of just ape people the same way. But like throughout the early game, you can just kind of like dash in no matter what because you have so much healing with your 3+ Kingslayer.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas late game you get bursted, but like his 2-1 combo is so good late game, and also the fact that you get vision from the two, so like you can use it as like just like a ward putting it down.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Full
so yeah, I
CDR
definitely
too.
agree.
Your three's like always up. Like it's gonna be
Yeah,
no
yeah,
downtime.
yeah. Like you can literally proc it off, like you alt proc it, and then
Then dash
you
out.
basically have it back up after.
Yeah.
Like it's so nice.
Shiva, I actually think is kind of maybe a little bit underrated. I'd argue maybe even A. I think he can use every item in solo, and I swear this guy's character or this character's damage like early to mid game with his 2-1. I don't know. You just kind of like one shot people. He like one shots the totem if you put your 1 on it, and I think he's even viable in support. I remember seeing Gen X not too long ago say the same thing where he thinks he's actually decent as a support character. The only problem is he's kind of similar to some of these other characters, kind of like Charybdis, where his ult is just so bad. Like it's just not a great ability after the nerfs to it. But yeah, I personally say he's a little underrated. Even have some viability in jungle. I've seen some people try and play him, but I think you're probably going to a little bit too far if you're playing him there.
Yeah, no, I probably would not recommend playing him jungle right now with the state of assassins.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I think that's fair.
I had a like early on when we were in the season, I had a sigil build on him where I went sigil soul eater, and then just like a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
items and mit binding and stuff because he procs binding really
Yeah.
well. And I did 160k mitigated and 80k damage in like a 45-minute game. I was like 80k. I was like, I know I was doing damage, but 80k on Shiva, like
He
that.
did.
I think his damage is a little underappreciated sometimes, but
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, that is very like good numbers. 180, what 180 mitigated and 80k damage. Like
yeah,
that's so
yeah,
good.
basically. What about Scotty?
I feel like surely this is like one of the worst seasons for her because I feel like before you could at least I don't know you could maybe play her like mid or ADC and kind of like snowball a little bit and like be kind of like a lane bully. But I feel like from what I've seen right now, I've never seen her like look good. Even on like the Skadi main players, they just kind of
Yeah,
don't seem to do anything on her. So I don't know, she's like a low mobility god, and I thought she would maybe like be good with like bluestone and like proc items, but nah, not seen a lot of success from her. So I would probably just put her B plus.
she's probably fine with
We'll
that,
see.
but there's one person in A rank that runs it. Axiom
Oh,
is their
yeah.
name, and they kind of they're a Uller Scotty spammer. But yeah, I think probably a counter pick. Probably fine. They did like buff her
Yeah.
ult and stuff recently, so pretty good against immobile characters, just sending the dog on them. But But yeah, I'd say probably like B. I actually think Sobek's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the better Guardian solos now. Pretty good at just like being in your face, proccing Tablet of Destinies, whether it's like with Conduit or Axe. Um, Good with Breastplate of Regrowth as well, just like the fast Crocodile running around after the 3. Um,
Yeah.
I'd say he's actually pretty good. Can kind of pick him in a ton of like lanes and not ever have a problem. Like he stalemates basically every lane, and then he still has that good late game where he just puts people out of position. So definitely recommend him if you're like more of like you're not really a solo player and you're just not too comfortable in the role. But yeah, I'd say A. And probably decent in support as well. I don't really know.
Yep.
Soul S.
Definitely. Definitely S. I think she might be the best mage hunter right now.
Yeah.
Just because like her pressure is like absolutely insane.
Yep.
She hits for like 90s level 1. When she gets like, and then like she just gets so much pressure. She just take complete control of like the duo side of the map. And even as a jungler, you try to shut her down, but it's so difficult. And like she can just 3v2 you or like 1v2 you.
Yeah.
Um,
Not much more needs to be
so
said.
yeah.
Wukong, I'd say B plus. I just feel like he was the character, like I said earlier, like Chalk, where
Hmm.
I think he's probably a little bit better than Chalk, just because I think he maybe just does a little bit more as far as like in a team fight, being harder to kill, can all in and not get gone on as easily. But yeah, he just still is like another character where you just kind of picking him because you don't want to lose your team the game. You're really not going to do all that much. Kind of just like a jack of all trades, but a master at none, and just he just kind of exists sometimes. So that's where I'd put him. I'd put him B plus. Doesn't really even abuse a ton
Yeah.
of the items as well as these other characters up here. So much better characters to play. Whereas Surtur, I think personally, I think he's S. I don't know if you play with him much because he's not ranked yet, but the character is absurd.
Oh,
He just has so
I,
much pressure. Really good late game, good engage. His stun is unmissable on his 2, so just having a range stun, it's like a Fafnir one that you can't miss
mhm.
basically, which is obviously good on a tank. Yeah, a ton of healing in his passive. He is getting nerfed, but I still think he's going to be crazy.
He did seem very, very strong to me from like in-houses,
Yeah.
and like early in the season. So yeah, I think that's fair. I think he would be a top pick in ranked if he was open.
What's Usano? A plus?
Uh, yeah, maybe.
You think an A?
I'm thinking maybe A. I don't know. Like, I feel like I've seen a lot of Susanos actually go like have a lot of success, and I was really liking Susano like by the end of last season, but for some reason I've not been having that much success. But I think that might just be like kind of unlucky games because sometimes that just happens where like you just pick a god and like you kind of just have losing lanes, and then I just can't tell like if it's the god or just like the state of
Yeah.
the game making it feel rough.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's probably at the very minimum A, maybe A plus, yeah.
He runs NA ranked. I've seen him played all the
Yeah.
time, and sometimes people play him in like mid
But
and stuff.
yeah, I think it's completely fair to put him in A plus. I have no like issue with that at all.
Okay. Sylvana is actually pretty decent as well. I've seen people play him quite a bit. He just gives so many prots to his team because he gets prots on his 2, then you go Lotus Sickle, then you go Prophetic, Thebes, or items like. It's actually so hard to dive people who have a Sylvanas near them. He still kind of suffers from
Yeah.
the same thing, anti-heal and just like going on him because he's so immobile. But he just applies so much pressure in the early to mid game. He can walk over to mid. You can get the bastions really easily and just fight around mid. I personally would put him in A plus. I think for ranked especially.
Yeah. I mean, no one really plays it in EU, but
Oh
I
really?
feel like yeah, I don't know why, but I think that's probably like it makes sense to me. Like I'm also surprised I haven't seen him more because I did play against it like a bit in in-houses and like it was annoying to play against. So
Yeah. You just give like 100 prots to your team. It's crazy.
yeah,
Terra's kind of similar. I'd say Terra's probably actually maybe we'll put Sylve here just because I think the other supports that we're about to talk about are probably they're not quite S, I don't think, but they're probably A plus, whereas Sylvana's probably just A. But yeah, I think Terra's A
yeah,
plus for the same reason, except better and does a ton of damage.
yeah. I mean, I think she's really her ult is so nice to play with, and yeah, she has her root and her stun, and she has like a lot of damage. I think she's good.
What do you think about Thana? People were running games with Thana at the beginning of the season, just ganking mid, ganking solo, just level 2 one-shotting him.
I think he's really good as well. I think he's uh maybe A plus. I'm not sure. He is like maybe like one of the easier gods to mess up on at the same time.
Yeah,
Like
true.
I'd say he's kind of like you have to be somewhat precise with him, not just like the size, but like your positioning, because like you do get picked easy on him if you aren't careful.
Yeah,
But I mean, I think if you're good on Thanatos, he feels insane to me. He
yeah.
has so much potential to not just snowball, but like turn bad games because of his execute and with so the build path that's like become meta in EU and that like I've been running. It's like you have like a really early Bloodforge because you go Jotuns into Bloodforge second instead of going Shadow Drinker.
Mm-hmm.
And because Thana procs the execute or like gets Bloodforge proc every time you execute.
Yeah.
You just have such a crazy like possibility of just like snowballing a fight or like turning like a bad fight to like the Bloodforge procs plus execute.
That makes sense. Have you seen Shadow Drinker on Asia? If you kill somebody with your ult, you just like never they don't see you come down. It's kind of funny.
Oh, does it work like that? Because
Yeah, yeah,
I was trying it out, but then I never got like the kills with the ult, so I was like, I guess it's just
yeah,
not worth buying.
yeah. Um,
But it sounds funny.
Morgan, I'd say is probably just like A. Not the greatest of the meta build, but she's just always a character, especially as far as competitive goes. She's just always valuable with her ult. Just really good at like changing drafts and like altering drafts because you can kind of just take one of the enemy kits or your own kits and get double of it, like double Cthulhu. Um,
Mm-hmm.
in rank, she'll always be fine as well because she can turn into a jungler. Like, oh, the junglers are so OP, they keep diving me. Well, you can just
Yeah.
turn into one and just go kill people on your own. So I think that's always valuable.
Yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't quite put her as like, I don't think she's as consistent as the other mages that we've talked about and we'll continue to talk about. But yeah, I'd say A.
Yeah, I think A is fine. I mean, she's really like she can just get a good stun off, and like it's so annoying.
Yeah,
She's annoying to play against for sure, and her
and
ult is
Polly's
so
really
useful.
strong. Polly's
Yeah,
amazing. The Thor King himself. What do you think about Thor? A plus?
I think this god is definitely like at the yeah A plus at the least. I think he's so good because so I don't do Bluestone Thor. I see other people do this. I think this is like not how you should play him. But this
Yeah,
is maybe my play style. But I think you just go for cause like he has complete one-shot potential now. Like he's never had as much damage as he does right now, and he has so much CC as well. Like his wall is crazy strong. Like his maybe even his best ability, and like he has so much mobility. He has insanely good gank potential. He does a lot of damage. He's very strong. Like in the early game with. Because if you have like Thor passive and you go Claw Shard and like you just auto people, like you just
oh
hit
yeah.
so hard. Um, so I think he's very strong, and like I think late game he can just hard carry a team fight by just hitting like a single dunk, and is one of the gods like you don't need your teammates to force relics or anything on the backline because you can just kind of kill people on yourself even if they have both relics up.
True. Yeah, yeah. You can kind of just, he's really independent in that way.
Yeah.
I'd say like previously, maybe even like last year towards the beginning, he wasn't that great because you could kind of just get invaded. Like the Erling or like an Osiris would be running at you with mannequins, and you're kind of just like having a hard time even doing your own back camps and stuff. But now that it's just
Yeah.
so easy to just get your own farm, like he can just sit there and run around and kind of control the game how he wants to, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's definitely feeling very good now that you don't get the warriors running at you.
What do you think about Thoth? I feel like Thoth's probably better than these B plus mages, but not quite up here. Just has the range for it. Still really easy to kill and go on, but I think benefits a little bit more from the meta build. Can kind of just he can just abuse it so much easier than characters without the range that he has. Still got to look out for these counter picks like you talked about earlier, Kabrakin. But just any like wall characters, Ymir that we'll talk about, Yamoja. People are just going to cut off your dash and your path and, CC characters like Daji Ares. You got to be careful of that. So I wouldn't recommend just like, you can't really blind pick him like you could like a Merlin or like a Tiamat or something, but definitely a character you could pop off on more so.
Yeah, I think A is probably fair just because he is still easy to kill. But now with the new Poké, he like Toss does do a lot of damage, but yeah, still just kind of easy to kill.
Yeah. You know who's not though? Tiamat.
Yeah, that is
Would you put her
so
S?
crazy. I hate uh, S or A plus for sure. I mean, at the very least A plus, and I'm fine with this. I
I would put her
mean,
S. Yeah, I think she's probably
yeah,
better than the characters in here.
I think she's insane. Yeah, like, but I've always been biased against her, so that's why like I'm like trying to. But I think she's so crazy. Like she does so much damage, and she's so tanky, and she also gets to pick up the two buffs that
Oh,
like
true. Yeah.
people are saying right now, like how OP speed buff is at this and that. So
Yeah.
I mean, she can have red and speed, and she's just I don't know. I hate playing against her,
Crazy
and
good with tablet.
I love playing with her. Yeah, like so good with her, so good with every item, and like her ult, she can just
Uh,
spawn creeps to go split pushing for you and stuff. And
yeah.
like,
Get the farm. Seems
yeah,
harder to kill than like some tanks sometimes with how tanky she is. I think like,
yeah,
dude, I'll get hit by
so
her one
tanky.
late game as a tank and be like, I feel like it's bugged sometimes. It hits so hard. Like she'll hit like one of the 9 ticks of it. I think it's one of 9, but it will still do
Yeah,
like 30% of my HP, and I'm just like, it's just because of Reaver and Soul Gem and Tablet. But yeah, the character's
yeah,
insane. She just has so many abilities, and they fixed the only problem she had, which was like her early game before. Her one was like, it was really hard to clear or even poke with, but they buffed it and it just hit so hard early. Like you literally full clear the archers at level 2 now with your 1 and your 2. If you have Sands of Time and you hit your whole 1 on the archers and your 2, the middle of it full clears the archers, which is just crazy that she's already full clearing the wave at level 2 as a late game character. So yeah, the character has no downsides in my opinion. And yeah, even if you want to pick like a
yeah.
Wilton or good luck pulling a Soul Gem Tiamat with mitts into your team, and but yeah. What do you think of Tsukiyomi?
Suki with Bluestone, I feel like is actually probably better than he used to be. Um, like there was like a very long time ago where he was like insane with a Boomba's hammer, but I feel like with Bluestone he should be quite strong. And when I've played him, I feel like he's been feeling quite nice. I still think his ultimate is kind of like his weakest ability in a way, as good as it is to like, sometimes you can just get a lot of damage off with it, or like you can maybe like chase a or finish like a kill with it, but it's like such a difficult ability to use because if you use it too early at any point and like you ult yourself into a team and like you don't kill people, then you just die.
Yeah,
Um, but uh, I don't know. I feel like maybe A. Yeah,
I
I think.
think. Oh, I was just gonna say, I think that the Bluestone build is really strong on him, and the ult does. It's just kind of like gives people time to like react. They can just like group up and like shell it, and then they can kind of just all in you
Mhm.
after. Or you do have to time it like
Yeah.
really well. But his count drops are, especially with Bluestone, like one of the best abilities in the game in my opinion. You just cut off so much area, and it does so much
Yeah,
damage.
that's the one thing that like I love about him when I've been playing him. Like Bluestone and then yeah, Caltrops, you just drop them and like if people walk through them, you just see like so much damage. And like backliners, like they don't want to walk through it, but then there's a lot. You know what? I'm gonna try, and then you just like half HP them. It feels
Yeah.
like it does so much
He
damage.
actually has some viability
So
in solo. I was playing him a lot last year in solo, and especially
yeah,
when Bluestone Soul Eater was the play, and it actually felt so strong. And Caltrops are just such a nasty ability, honestly. I think you could argue he's
yeah,
even A plus, but I think just because he's
probably
a
yeah,
little bit feast or famine with his ult, a little less consistent, I'd say, than some of the A plus characters. Although I
yeah,
think Tier is probably A plus. Tier is like just kind of such a standard pick. You could literally never lose lane on him. Good with a bunch of builds, mainly the Bluestone build, of course. But he can rotate earlier because he just full clears and walks over with movement speed. Can kind of have an impact, make blink plays. So one of the few soul laners I think that maybe is impactful in the early to mid game. Um, but yeah, a perfect meta for him. Even into like the counter matchups like Guan or like honestly, that's basically it. I feel like he doesn't really have any counter matchups, to be fair. He's just kind of free in every single lane with all of his healing. First item defense here, and you're chilling. So I think he's A plus.
Yeah, I think he's super obnoxious to play against, so I agree.
What about Uller?
I think he's one of the better Fizz hunters as well. It probably can also be played in mid, but I don't know if that's really worth it. But yeah, I feel like he's one of the good Fizz hunters just because you can go like the Bluestone build, and you have so much poke for like the late game. Like if you ever hit like a 3 on the back line or like a jungler or something, it just does so much damage.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'd say it's just because of those items, he feels like he's been feeling pretty good when I've played it at least, and so I think he's fine. Like I
Okay. But Mana is a character I can't really get a read on. I feel like the changes are kind of weird. Like at first, I thought they were really strong, and you can kind of just like walk at people and they can't kill you because they can't counter you with Ankh anymore. But at the same time, like you can just get sundered, and even though it's not going to take out, like your shield is still going to regenerate. If you get sundered and then they just like start hitting you and all in you, like and you're not life stealing, they can just like kind of wait out your ult. It's kind of awkward. Kind of makes me think almost like going damage on him is a little bit better. But yeah, it's hard for me to get a read on him. One of the few characters on this list, but personally, I'd probably put him B plus. I think you can pick him and you'll do well and you'll do things, but I don't really see him being as strong as the other ones.
Yeah, no idea. I've not seen him that much, and like he's been kind of like a coin flip god to me, where he seems like it's alright or not, but definitely not one of the better picks.
Yeah. Do you think Vulcan's still around A plus? I would say so.
I'm not sure because no one's really playing him anymore, and I don't know. Maybe he doesn't proc the like tablets and like the proc items as well as others. I've just not seen him a lot. He's probably still fine. He's definitely like at lowest A, I would say.
Yeah. Throw him A. I have noticed people start playing him a little bit. He's good at killing bastions though with his turret. But they
That's
did
for
nerf
sure.
him.
That's for
They did
sure.
nerf his one pretty recently, so definitely hurt him a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I probably would. He would probably have some of these other mages more than him. But Shibalanke, I feel like probably. I actually think he's decent. I've played a little bit of dual lane, and I've played him and played against him, and his bolas are just so annoying. And he actually was one of the few characters that hits hard early game as a hunter, which is nice, just because of his one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I feel like for the most part, he's probably not the he's not like up here with these other characters, but get a lot of lane pressure off of just the poke from his one and everything. So
Yeah, and he has a very good ult still just for the team
yeah,
fights.
for sure. Shing 10 kind of similar. I would put him in A. I think he's actually viable in solo. He has 4 damaging abilities for tablet, um, which is really strong. Pretty good with Sundering Axe. I've played him quite a bit with it, and I like it a
Mm-hmm.
lot. I think he's also viable in support, kind of just like a hard to kill, annoying character. You can kind of pick him in a lot of games in support and probably not like feed your brains out and still have an impact. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's fair. I think he's. I've seen him in both solo and support, and he seems good to me in both. So
what about Yamoja? I think in EU she's not played as much, right? But I think this
yeah,
character is
she's
A plus.
not played as much in EU. I feel like Yamoja's maybe just like more difficult to use well for
Yeah,
most people. But I mean, I feel like whenever there is a good Yamoja, she feels really strong to play both with and against.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, I'm fine with putting her A plus.
The build's also really strong for her right now. You just go prophetic,
Yeah, yeah,
chronospendent, and horn shard, and upgrade a med, and you can literally spam your abilities so much it's crazy. Um,
yeah. That's true. Actually, I didn't think about that. Like with the horn.
yeah, and then I'd actually say Ymir's probably A plus as well, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably.
Maybe A.
I
He's
he's good against like a lot of gods that he can kind of cut off escapes with. Like I just feel like he's kind of one of those gods that get really good with the less mobility the enemy team has, right?
yeah. You kind of want
But
to pick him a little bit lower just to counter pick there. like dashes or the no
Yeah,
leaps are really good
but
right now.
I mean
So,
strong. Yeah, definitely.
but still good lane pressure and everything. Yu Hong, I'd argue probably A plus as well. I think one of the better
Yeah,
mages.
I think A plus for sure. Definitely one of the better mages. So much poke, can proc the items easily, and like such a strong ultimate.
I couldn't figure out his ultimate for the longest time because Daniel or Pagon he's really good at him, and he was getting like so many
Yeah,
good ults, and I was like, I literally had to ask him. I was like, how do you even use this ability? And then I kind of finally figured it out. But I think it's a really cool ability. Like it kind of has a high skill ceiling in my opinion. But yeah, I think really strong character. Zeus kind of suffers from the same problems he always has, just immobile. Actually
mm,
pretty decent at killing the bastions and just like procking items because he does have the forward damaging abilities, but he just always will suffer from that same thing. Good combo with Odin as always, and also pretty good with Sylvanas, who's decent in the meta, so kind of can help him. But you kind of have to build a comp around him, and in ranked, you're really not experiencing all that much. So ranked, especially, just try and pick something that's more independent.
yeah.
And then Zhang, what do you think about Zhang?
I feel like Chong is probably not that good right now. I
Yeah,
don't know. At least I've not seen I've not seen him a lot, and like when I've seen him, it's not seemed like that great to me. Um, he's kind of like I'm sure he has like games where he's probably like really strong, but I feel like not as consistent. Like I would not kind of put him with like Morgan, etc. So I guess B plus is fair for him.
yeah, I think B plus is probably fine. I've tried him a bit in solo. I've even tried to do the auto attack build, go like berserkers with
Oh
Cyclopean
yeah,
ring and stuff. More of a meme, but yeah, I just think
yeah,
I think you kind of have to either go in solo. You either have to go like a little bit tanky with like a decent amount of damage with like Spear of the Magus and like maybe some lifesteal with like Pythags and stuff. Or in mid, you just go like full damage and go blink and try and like kamikaze like blink on them and just see if like that works. And that can into certain characters and stuff, but it's just such a like a gimmicky thing. Just pick more consistent characters and you'll just win more ranked games. Honestly. Um, but yeah, and that was it. That is our tier list. We tried to take into account like all levels of ranked and everything like that. Try and give you guys a good rundown of the season 10 meta. We haven't started scrimming yet, which I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you are too, Kenneth.
very excited.
Yeah, so maybe once we start scrimming in a few months, or not in a few months, that's not when we'll start scrimming, but maybe we'll make a tier list update here in the future after we figure some more stuff out. But thanks for joining me, Kenneth.
Yeah.
His channel, like I said, I'll put it in the description. You guys go check it out. He started uploading again on the YouTube. I told you. But you got anything to say to the viewers, Kenneth?
I hope everyone enjoyed our tier list. I mean, it's been nice to kind of guess for this, and hopefully there won't be too much controversy. But yeah,
Yeah, don't worry. Who cares? If you guys have any opinions on our tier list and you disagree with something, then be sure to comment down below because we're gonna read every single one of them. Don't you worry. But yeah, thanks for watching today, guys. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Stay safe and healthy as always. Peace out.